Have you ever watched something that completely rewired your brain chemistry?
A procedural network drama might not be your usual pick, but it's ours.
This is The Buddie System, a 911 deep dive podcast hosted by three friends who have DM'd each other enough character dissertations to earn a PhD in media literacy.
I'm Han, coming to you straight from the characters' heads.
I'm Sil, bringing you to the observation deck.
And I'm Rachel, connecting the dots with my red string.
With our powers combined,
No stone is left unturned.
And no buddy is left behind.
Once upon a time, all the planets and the fate and the stars aligned.
welcome to the Buddie System. This is a very special episode with a special guest, our friend Chrissy.
Hey. Yay!
We're going to talk about astrology and Buck and Eddie and Buddie and astrology specifically
And how the stars aligned.
for them. Before we start, I will just give you a little lore of how we got here.
Lore drop.
On June 21st, 2024, literally, Chrissy tweeted, "If anyone cares, after much contemplation, I decided that Buck is a Leo sun, Cancer moon, Libra rising. Eddie is a Taurus sun, Scorpio moon, Capricorn rising. I have a PhD in astrology, so this is my very professional opinion. Thank you."
And we thanked you.
And I was sent this in our Buddie System group chat because I had just randomly, like the day before or a couple of days before, apropos of nothing, been like, so Buck is obviously a Libra sun, Cancer moon, Leo rising. And I gave no reasoning. I was just like, he just is. It just came to me.
It also just came to me when I gave it very little thought. I was like, you know what? I'm so sure. Like, this is
It just makes sense.
Yes, exactly.
It just makes sense. And I think we talked about Eddie and we deliberated over him a little bit more. But like we had at least two of the same things that you had. So I was like, oh my God, I have to reply. So I sent a screenshot like of our DM where we were talking about this. Yeah, with the Buddie System DM talking about like what Chrissy had just tweeted. And
Just
was
so
like,
insane.
I'm so excited. Yeah, that we just like had almost the exact same thing for Buck.
I'm curious, how did you guys get that tweet on the timeline, on your timelines? Because were we following each other before that?
I was following you, I think.
Oh, okay.
Still come through MVP.
I see. Okay, that makes sense.
Well, then we started talking to you, and then I realized you wrote one of my favorite fics.
Yeah.
And then I was like, insane.
Just a coincidence.
And we decided to collectively bring you into the fold.
We
happily
did.
came along.
We have been planning this astrology episode since,
July.
I want to say like July is when I asked Chrissy.
I think it
And
was
then,
July
like-
because I was on vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that makes sense.
Yeah. And then we like initially planned for September, but then life just kept lifing
Sure did.
Repeatedly.
repeatedly. So we're starting off the middle of January 2025.
Starting it strong.
Starting it so strong, finally, with this episode, where we're going to bring you very professional, very correct information that's based on nothing but our understanding and knowledge of the characters, because the show has given us nothing. So you're welcome.
These are intellectual conclusions.
Exactly. We have made executive decisions, and these are now the birthdays and the signs forevermore.
Because we also reverse engineered to get the
Yes.
birthday.
We sure did.
The exact time.
So what we're going to talk about today is, because there's so much in astrology, but we're just going to stick to the big three. And if you aren't familiar with that, welcome to the internet, I guess. But the big three is your sun, your moon, and your rising sign. And the sun is like what everyone's really familiar with, just as their
Zodiac.
regular sign.
Yeah.
Your regular zodiac sign. And your sun sign's kind of just like the conscious you and like your role in life and the kind of core of who you are. And your moon sign is your innermost self, how you see yourself, your feelings.
How you feel your emotions. How you express your emotions. Yeah.
Yeah. How you see yourself when you're alone.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? When you're most yourself. And then your rising is kind of like the outer you, or like what you project to other people. So it can kind of be seen as a mask sometimes, but it's how you present to the world or how others perceive you. And then how you in turn see the world and interact with it.
Mm-hmm. And also how you come across to other people. Sometimes that's not always how you are, but it's how you come across.
Yeah.
Like a first impression.
Yes, exactly. And also, your rising can also contribute to your appearance. At least I've been told there is correlation. And there is some correlation, I will say. When I was looking into it with them, with the signs that we assign them. And there is a lot of correlation, though I know that they're fictional and it's kind of complicated. They're also actors. So it's like there's a disconnect there. But there is some correlation. That's it.
So I guess we'll start out really quick just talking about our big three so that you can have a baseline for like
where we're coming from.
Our knowledge level of these signs.
Yeah.
At least through our experiences of them, right?
Yes.
So I am a Cancer sun, an Aries moon, and an Aquarius rising, which means that I'm crazy. And I have never had a normal reaction in my life.
I am an Aquarius sun, Sag moon, Sagittarius, a Scorpio rising. And honestly, my entire birth chart is very balanced. I have a lot of signs in earth, a lot of signs in air. My rising is water. My moon is fire. So I don't know. I have inclinations towards certain reactions, but overall it's very balanced.
You've got everything cornered.
Yeah, exactly.
Must be nice.
Most feelings are relatable to me.
I'm a Scorpio sun, a Gemini moon, and a Taurus rising. And I am like mostly Scorpio. like I think I have my like a Scorpio Mars and
this tracks.
Wait,
that
Pluto?
Yeah, it really
and a Pluto? Hold on.
Well, yeah.
Typical Scorpio craziness, which I don't think that's true. I think that's a stereotype. So
it is a stereotype.
It is, yeah. It's exaggerated.
But anyway, Rachel.
Oh, my turn. So I'm a Gemini sun, a Leo moon, and a Virgo rising. So if you've heard me before present an argument and then talk myself out of the argument, that would be why. If I'm like, wait, but what about this? And then I'm like, wait, but different perspective. Here we go. That's the Gemini.
That's such a Gemini thing. You can truly see every side, or at least you make attempts to see every side.
She really does.
And I'm like double Mercury ruled because of the Virgo rising. So this is also one of the reasons why our episodes are so long. It's just because I literally cannot stop talking because I'm ruled by the planet of communication.
Okay, do we want to get into...
We should get into what you're all probably here for, which is talking about Buck and Eddie. So we will start out talking about their big three. I will give the exact time of birth so that you too can pull up their charts in your favorite astrology app and have them as a friend.
Because they are real to us.
Just see how correct we are. We reversed engineered this based on, what we already decided that their big three was and where they were born. So Buck was born at 3:22 a.m. on October 2nd, 1991. And Eddie was born on April 28th, 1991.
12:03
a.m.
So, which makes Eddie older.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that is also a contentious point.
And we will not be discussing this any further. This is the law.
This is what it is. We have made it so.
It's biblically accurate that Eddie is older. I would like him to be older than this, but this felt the most accurate based on the conflicting information that we have.
It's really just
for fun and the closest approximation that we could have to like confirmation bias what we had already decided.
Yes. So Buck is a Libra sun, a Cancer moon, and a Leo rising. And according to the headstone that we see for Shannon, she is also a Libra. So
Canonically,
one of the only people to have a canonical birthday on the show. And then we have Eddie, who is a Taurus sun, a Scorpio moon, and a Capricorn rising.
I know on the show, they show Buck's little hospital bracelet.
oh my God.
And they just threw in Stark's birthday. But we reject this.
Yeah. They just used Oliver Stark's birthday and we saw that and we were like, no.
There's no
Also,
way.
we had already had this made for months and months, so I was pissed. And then second of all, I was like, that's so fucking lazy. And second of all, Buck would be so much more evil
if he was a Cancer.
Cancer sun.
Yes. He would be so much more evil.
He would be so much more outwardly volatile.
Yeah. And I know that he's had his little volatile moments, but that is entirely the Cancer moon Leo rising. That is not the Libra sun.
It's always because it's a pressure cooker.
Yeah. And they're few and far between, which is why when it blows up, it is what it is, but it just kind of simmers for so much of it.
In all the very important moments of Buck's life, he is not exhibiting the Cancer or the Leo qualities, in my opinion. No. At least not the conversational aspect, how he feels his emotions.
He's by himself.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. When you're showing like the big emotional things, that's the Cancer moon. That's pumping out. Or like you can look at the Cancer moon to be like, that's what is behind what's happening here, because that's what's happening in his mind. But
you can even specifically reference the most recent episode that aired, and his reaction to Eddie moving is such a Libra reaction.
Yeah, because you know what a Cancer sun would have done?
Oh my God.
Yelled,
a Cancer?
Or I would have left, or I would have done both.
A Cancer would have made a petty remark and then just left with the zinger.
Yeah.
And let them feel that guilt.
Yes.
Yeah.
And be like, now I'm waiting for you to come after me as the natural thing you should do.
And not try to find the balance in the situation of, okay, well, you've decided this. We're going to make it the best possible scenario.
No, that's the Libra.
Exactly.
The reason that I've seen people say that he is a Leo, and I understand that read because that is how he could come across when you first meet him, or like, you know, when he's kind of like trying to project that like bravado or like.
And initially I did think he was a Leo, but I'm convinced that he's a Libra now after discussing this with you guys. I'm convinced.
Good. I'm so glad.
Yeah, I changed sides.
I'm so glad, because here's the thing is like, if he was a Leo rising, he would also be way more volatile.
Oh, 100%.
And I think he does have a lot of volatile, like, I keep saying volatile like it's all bad. It's just Cancers feel so fucking deeply. We take everything personally. And like, there are good parts of like feeling very deeply too. It means that we're very empathetic to the point that like we're almost empaths. It's like we can really understand like people's emotional needs and like in almost a psychic kind of way.
And we're not like rejecting the idea that Buck exhibits Cancer or Leo qualities by saying that he's a Libra sun. We're saying that absolutely he exhibits those, just in different
places and different ways.
Very specific places in his chart. Yeah. He has those qualities. Like
the Libra balances out those things.
Exactly.
The Libra is how we get the Buck that we kind of know to be his like
avoidant,
his like stasis, his like. Trying to say homeostasis. His like
trying to keep the peace. Like for example, with that situation with Maddie and Chimney, he was trying to play both sides kind of.
Yes.
And that was such a Libra move of his.
And that's why it backfired, because he was trying to appease both of them and not choose. Which 100%. Is also a very air sign thing to do. Especially Libras. So
yeah, Libras they're very much about fairness and about
strong moral code
and making sure that the people around them, the people that they care about, are happy. Everyone else around them comes before them.
Yeah,
they are always dead last. So their emotional needs are always last. And I feel like that's how we see Buck most of the time, except for when that Leo rising jumps up or that Cancer moon really pops out, when it's something that's, happening like in Buck Begins or the lawsuit, things like that.
And I definitely think that the Leo especially comes out in Buck's work life. And this makes so much sense to be his rising, because that is how he's presenting himself to the people en masse. Like that is his motto. He is a firefighter at his core. He wants to be known as that. He wants to present himself as a leader, as somebody who's courageous and strong. And that's such a Leo rising kind of quality. And the intensity, like the passion, that's all Leo. Like when he's really heated, how he's presenting himself, that's Leo.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's not him at his most happy, at his most like at peace. I feel like your sun is who you are when you're most at peace. And then you have the other signs kind of impacting how that is presented with your emotions and your appearance and how other people are perceiving you, etc.
And how you want to be perceived.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And with Buck's Cancer energy, I feel like Cancers are very... I guess, Hannah, you could speak to this more than anybody else. you could explain how Buck is exhibiting his emotions and also expressing them.
I definitely can. We wanted to do a general overview of Eddie and then kind of
get into the nitty-gritty,
deeper into the things individually.
For sure. We can do Eddie first.
So yeah, to get into a little bit of Eddie for like a general overview, like we just did with Buck. Have you guys seen anything like general takes of what people or the streets seem to think he is?
Actually, I had a mutual ask this question the other day. They were asking what we think Eddie's sun sign is. And there were a lot of replies saying Taurus. So we're on the same wavelength.
Pop off, fandom.
I feel like I see most often Taurus and Virgo.
Yes, I saw a lot of Virgo as well.
And I was also originally...
Rachel and Silbert, I'm sorry, I'm showing your initial thoughts on this when we like literally had just started talking about it. When I was like, Buck is this, and you guys were like, yeah, totally. And then we were like, what is Eddie? And I forget in what order the conversation went, but you guys were like Virgo.
And then
I went, like, absolutely
Capricorn, and I guess Taurus is the sweet spot that we all agreed on.
So, but I said, I was like, maybe Taurus. And you guys were like, no. And I was like, well, that's where I am with Virgo. Because
it was a stalemate.
I am surrounded by Virgos in my life. My partner is a Virgo. My dad is a Virgo. My partner's dad is a Virgo. My brother-in-law is a Virgo. I have so many Virgos, okay? I have a collection of them. So I'm deeply familiar with how they operate.
I'm also deeply familiar with Virgo, so...
Yeah, I was just so like, funny. Eddie is just not. And like, I don't know if people were doing that because Ryan is a Virgo, 100%. Because he is a Virgo. He's a double Virgo.
That's kind of what I have, like, once we came to the decision of having Eddie be a Taurus instead, and we kind of like looked into it, which again, we'll discuss in a little bit. But then I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense for Eddie. And I think what happens is there is conflation between Ryan Guzman, the Virgo, and Eddie as the character, because I think because we know that Eddie...
There's so much overlap.
There's so much overlap, and Eddie is basically written specifically for Ryan. So like, of course there's going to be overlap. And I think that it just comes out like really strongly.
Yep.
In that instance.
And there are aspects of this that apply to Oliver and Buck as well. That's why so many people believe him to be a Cancer.
Right. And it's that thing where like he's not a Cancer sun, but he's a Cancer moon. Yes. So it's kind of like take that, but like apply it slightly differently.
Yeah.
So like Eddie doesn't have a big 3 Virgo placement, but he has 2 Earth sign placements, just like Ryan has 2. Yeah.
Very strong Earth sign.
There are similarities 100% between the Virgo of it all and what we interpreted of Eddie's chart.
Yeah. So like very similar, but a little different, but it still has like general vibes are the same. Yeah. Where it's like very grounded in that Taurus sun.
Yeah.
And Capricorn rising.
Also like reliable practicality kind of stuff. That's all like stubbornness. That's all coming through in his chart for sure. It's just not where people think it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, I also think people might be seeing Virgo because like Chrissy said a couple of minutes ago, your sun sign is who you are when you're at your most like at peace, when you're at your happiest. And I don't know how often we get to see Eddie at peace or happy. I don't even know if we're in double digits of screen time.
Oh god.
Can count on one hand and not even all fingers used, right?
So yeah, I could get it from that perspective if you're like looking at him like the rigidity that I kind of apply more to Virgos than the other Earth signs.
Well, I mean, you do get some of that rigidity with all of the Earth signs, but it manifests in different ways.
Virgo is so different with their rigidity.
Detail oriented and
perfectionist.
Oh, it's the perfectionist. I'm always right.
Yes. And I don't think Eddie exhibits in that same way. I think he has a stubbornness to him, but I don't think it's perfectionism. I don't think he cares to be perfect. Like, there's another quality of, I think Taurans are very traditionalist. And I think that Eddie exhibits that in how he perceives like the family, the family structure,
how it should be.
Yeah. What like his ideals, his values. And that's not really perfectionism to me. That's just what he wants. That's his,
it's performance of perfection.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
Of your ideal of perfection and taking it on and performing it. And then that Scorpio moon just really jumps out.
Well, I think it makes sense because he is such an emotional person and he's also such a petty person.
Yeah. He's getting that from the Capricorn though, too.
Both.
He doesn't forget things. Like once you wrong him, he will remember that for his life. He will hold on to it.
Yeah.
Like all the stuff that has to do with his parents and his family, and also how he was dealing with Shannon.
Like he can hold a grudge. If we were talking about that earlier.
Yes, a very Scorpio perspective of things and how he's dealing with his emotions there. But also, like we've seen, this applies to Buck as well with the Cancer moon and Eddie with the Scorpio moon. But they're both such emotional people, emotional men. Like I think that it makes sense to give them water moons because of that. We see them expressing emotion a lot, very intensely. We see them crying a lot, not necessarily afraid to cry when the moment calls for it. And I think that's definitely a water moon thing. But with Eddie, the difference is that I don't think that Eddie enjoys other people seeing him in an emotional state.
No.
And I think that protectiveness of your emotions is very Scorpio, and giving him that Scorpio moon, it just makes so much sense. He's so protective of his heart and his vulnerable moments and his trauma. And that's just a very Eddie quality, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. And I think when he does feel like his vulnerability is being shown or something, I feel like he does kind of like attack back, kind of like the whole imagery of like a Scorpio will sting back. He's done that a couple of times.
Like somebody seeing through your emotions, you just get triggered a little bit. And when you're not ready for that, you fight back a little bit. And he's definitely had those moments.
Yeah, like the whole trying to come back from Dispatch back to the 118 and
the one
him talking to Bobby. Just like, I forget how he words it, but he absolutely throws.
You're gonna look at me with 100 and some bodies on you, and tell me I'm not fit for duty. Screw you, Bobby. That's exactly what he says.
Yeah, he hits where he knows it's gonna hurt, where he knows it's going to sting the most, and also like the whole he won't forget anything. Like, come on. When I think we're all thinking of the same thing with Josh in Dispatch, and
he
like,
held on.
Today you're in my house.
He held on to that
for months.
The pettiness.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. He felt so vindicated.
Oh, I'm sure he did.
I bet he felt so satisfied with himself after that. He was like, I was
So
waiting
proud.
for the right moment and landed perfect.
Yeah,
I would definitely do that. That's something I would do.
like you never show the ace up your sleeve, right? Until the opportune moment.
And you know what? I'm a Scorpio rising. I do that too. 100%. I'll lay low and I'm like, you know what? If you want to test me, when the moment comes, I will end you. So watch it.
It's fuck around and find out, but like you'll find out at a moment that's most dramatic and convenient for me.
When the punch will sting the most. Then
I really do think that the Capricorn rising is such a fallback mask for Eddie. Yeah. Because this is how, when people first meet him, they think he has his shit together.
Oh, yes.
They think that he is just,
from first glance, this perfect. What did we talk about in our 201 episode? Like, here's this new guy. He's so competent. He's
so
done all this
competent.
stuff,
He's so nonplussed under pressure, and
Silver Star has his life together. Everybody knows how to handle every call.
Yeah.
So sociable with every single member, connecting with everybody.
Yeah.
It's just the image that is presented.
Yeah. And the moment he tries to make an actual choice for himself is the worst possible choice that he could make, and shows like, oh, he just likes to blow up his life on routinely.
yes.
Every couple months, it's time.
That's not the Capricorn. The Capricorn is what he's trying to make people think that he actually is, but it's not.
It's 100%.
I feel like his Capricorn is way more of a mask than the Leo is for Buck.
Like, Buck lives in the Leo, but Eddie hides behind the Capricorn.
Yeah. That's 100% true.
Because he's had to since he was a kid.
Yeah. He's been forced into this position where he needs to be on it. He needs to be the perfect son, be the perfect father, be the perfect brother.
Which again is all performative, because based on the ideals that he's like taken on.
And I think also that kind of competence that people believe Eddie to have is a very Capricorn trait as well. And also, on top of that, he is, once again, the earth. He's stubborn. He's firm in his decision making. He's direct when he wants to speak to you. That's all Capricorn qualities.
Yeah, how he handles Buck in 201 is 100% the Capricorn. Like, assessing the situation and then being direct, but then also being like, sussing out what's actually going to get this person to be on his side.
Honestly, I think that's a very Scorpio moon of him.
The sussing out is
out.
The sussing out, true.
But how he then applies it.
The execution, 100% is Capricorn. Yeah.
And that's like one of the ways, I think that's one of the like most successful ways we've seen all of these different elements of his chart, as we're interpreting it, interact with each other. Because it's like, okay, in that case, it's like the Scorpio moon is doing like the sussing out and trying to like do the analyzing, and the Capricorn rising is putting that into practice.
Yeah.
I think that's a good enough kind of introduction. feel like we can dive
deeper
into these individually now.
Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm. Shall we enter the final frontier of deep space?
Oh my gosh.
We'll connect the dots of the constellation.
Oh.
Get the fuck out of
You
here.
know what? I like that one.
Okay, thank you.
I think that was cute.
That was cute.
Okay, I'm done now.
So let's dive deep into each individual sign for Buck. Again, his sun sign is Libra, and a Libra is an air sign. When you think of air, you think of a breath of fresh air, which I think Buck is.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Especially, I think, in all of the 118's lives. Maybe not always in a positive way at first, but eventually, definitely. Air signs are constantly thinking and curious. They love to learn. They're social butterflies, innovative, and they're flexible, open-minded to adapt and change. They're ruled by Venus, which is the planet of love and pleasure and beauty. And they love intimacy, closeness, and balance. They're very, effusive, charming, witty, funny.
Big people pleasers.
Literally, Taylor Swift wrote, I wouldn't marry me either, a pathological people pleaser.
Or bad.
About Buck Buckley, a Libra.
I believe that.
They are endlessly optimistic and idealistic. Even if sometimes they're not optimistic for themselves, they'll still always have it ready
Very
for everyone
glass half
else.
full.
They can always turn on that optimism for everyone else, but they can't always turn it on for themselves. Like I said earlier when we were doing the overview, they really are kind of almost obsessed with fairness and equality, and they have a lot of empathy for people, and I think that's why they're obsessed with the fairness.
When they see something that's, what they deem as unfair, they're going to ruminate on it, especially as we see with Buck. If it's towards anyone, then he will advocate for them. And if it's if he's feeling slighted.
I feel like with Buck, he has this very strong moral code that he applies to everybody around him. And this includes, for example, how he treated Taylor. He was very this is what's right. And if you are not aligned with my opinion of what's right, you're just wrong. Simply, you're wrong. And also, there's the lawsuit. He was
yes, that's what I was thinking of.
You didn't treat Chimney this way, so why am I being treated this way? That's unfair. That was the entire baseline of the lawsuit.
When he feels slighted, that's what I...
Yes. And then there's also when Gerard came in, and then he was treating everybody unfairly, and he was like, this is unfair, we should all quit. He's always advocating for that moral code, that fairness, that equal treatment across the board. He doesn't appreciate any kind of slighting toward anybody, especially himself. When he feels impacted by that, he's like, I need to take a stand against this. Feels very strongly about it.
And I think you can see this also implemented in how he is a fixer. Because if he sees something happening to someone he cares about that he feels is unfair, he wants to fix it immediately. And he normally finds a way to fix it.
Going back to how he treated Maddie and Chimney during that situation, he was trying to balance both of them at the same time, trying to be there for Chimney, but also abide by what Maddie requested of him. And I feel I don't know if everybody knows this, but with every sign, there's a little image that comes with it, and Libra's the scales, and you have to have balanced scales. And I think that with Buck, those balanced scales are very important. He needs to give everything equal attention.
Yeah, I think another good example is when Eddie comes to him for advice when Chris gets hurt at school because of the skateboard incident. And he's like, how do I tell my kid that, he can't do anything? That's what I've always told him. And so that triggers Buck. That triggers that that's not fair. He should be able to do anything that he wants, just like anyone else. And like, maybe it won't be in the same way, but like, I can make that happen.
Absolutely.
I can fix it.
Yeah.
I can make it fair.
The whole fixer thing is, you can be a people pleaser and you can be a fixer, but not all of those are mutually inclusive with like actually finding the solution. But Buck always finds a solution, like even after just meeting Eddie and finding out that Eddie is having trouble with, dealing with the red tape, like the bureaucracy of it all, which is often very unfair. Buck is like, no, I'm going to figure out a way to like give you a leg up, which was getting Carla in on the whole thing. So he people pleases and he fixes, but he actively finds and produces solutions that do work, which I think is one of the reasons why he continues to lean on all of that as well, sometimes to his own detriment, but because it has been so successful for others, and that's what he really cares about.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I don't know if any of you have a Libra sun in your life, but my best friend is a Libra sun.
My best friend's also a Libra sun.
I have
one
too.
They're literally the best, right?
Yeah.
They're literally they're the best until you have to be like, can you maybe put any of this energy into yourself? Possibly.
Yes, that's it exactly. Oh my gosh.
They're very giving with their time and their emotions.
When you have to literally like browbeat them to do any amount of self-care.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Or be like, maybe sometimes you have to like not do everything for everyone else so that you can do things for yourself.
One of my really good friends from high school, there's a group of 3 of us. And one of them, she is a Libra. And if something's like not great in her life, and she'll, just kind of like vent a little bit, and then immediately we'll be like, but how are you guys? What's wrong with you? Like anything I can do for you? And it's just like,
oh, and first apologize. No. Apologize for venting.
Yeah. And it's like, no, this is you time. We're focusing on you right now. And you also have to focus on you right now. Yeah. So like you have the spotlight, and they don't always like the spotlight in that sense. Right.
They are like one of the most giving people, and they will show up for you every single time.
Yeah.
They will show up for you even when you don't ask them to.
Yeah, 100%. Yes. I feel like also the whole thing that we said about Libra being ruled by Venus, which is like the love sign. It's very Buck. I feel like, Buck is the person on the show that has had the most flings/relationships. He's also, his entire storyline centers around love and finding love, which is such a ruled by Venus thing. Love is like at the very center of what is going to complete him. And
yes,
that is very Venus. It's just like Buck is
makes a lot of sense.
Finding love. And that is just it's just such a Libra quality for sure.
Yeah. We should come back to that when we talk about
Eddie.
Eddie and his Taurus sun, because that is also ruled by Venus.
Yep. They're compatible in that way. Yeah.
But also in like the opposite sense where Eddie doesn't actively seek that stuff out. But we'll get to Eddie later.
Yes.
So right now we are about Buck.
Yes.
We are about Buck right now. So just to kind of wrap up the whole like does everything for everyone else, but can't be bothered to actually take care of themselves emotionally because they're too busy, showing up for everyone else. It's because they kind of feel guilty.
Yeah.
If they aren't doing things for other people, but they absolutely feel guilty when they're unhappy. If they're unhappy and if the people that they care about pick up on it, like they feel guilty about it because them being unhappy affects everyone around them because they're like the little sunshine. You know what I mean? They're the little sunshine friend who's always optimistic and always shows up for you.
And if they can't be that,
and if they can't do that, or if it's like very obvious that like they're putting on like their best attempt of it, but it's obvious to the people who care about them that that's not actually the case, they feel guilty about it. So like they're going to try their hardest to never show when they're actually unhappy.
Yep.
I just feel like Buck does this all the time.
Yeah.
Like he'll be going through horrible emotional shit and just not talk to anyone about it constantly, and then just put on a smile and show up for everyone else.
I mean, this latest episode, this last one.
Yeah.
Yo. I mean, just the way, like, you know, he's like processing that news, but you know, about Eddie, sorry, like I'm being like low-key vague. So like 808. Thank you, because I forgot. Yeah, so I mean, like at the end of 808, like he's like receiving like that kind of like earth-shattering news, but he's going to put on that like smile on his face, and he's just going to be like supportive and like everything's okay, and I'm going to help you find a house because your taste is tragic.
Yeah.
When we get that shot of him by himself on the couch, like that is like that. That smile dropping. It's just that's would be a perfect example.
Yeah,
because he doesn't want to show Eddie that he's upset. Like he's not going to tell him.
No, because Eddie needs him,
and it's because he also knows that Christopher is in Buck's mind is more important than Buck. So Buck is going to people please and not over assert his perceived importance, even though he is like the only other like most important person in Eddie's life
and Christopher's, but he doesn't see that.
There's a hierarchy.
Yeah.
And he knows.
And he knows it. And
he's just like, if this is what's best for them, it doesn't matter like how I feel.
Exactly.
Once again, that whole aspect of fairness, he's like, this makes sense mentally. This makes sense. It makes sense
because
why you're
Chris,
prioritizing this. Yeah.
Because Chris supersedes everything.
Exactly.
Even my own feelings. So we're going to push them down and make it so Eddie and Chris are reunited. Because that is what's right.
It's also interesting now that I think about it. That, like obviously he's not like Christopher's dad and doesn't have a say in anything, but like it's interesting that so far we haven't really gotten insight on the way he feels. And I know like technically it's kind of like the question is, why do we need to? I mean, I know for everyone in this room, in this bar, we know why. We know the why. But like I'm talking about like general audience, because I'm doing that whole like back and forth thing. So like I think it's just interesting that we haven't really like gone into that and explored it. But I feel like it's very important because like, you know, Eddie had asked him to like go in there and
I have
basically
theories. I feel like the way that the show wants to present it, Buck isn't a introspective, reflective person. He doesn't want to analyze his own feelings, because if he did that, he would find cannibalism remains.
Okay. 100%.
That paints a picture.
This is gonna like tie into the Cancer more than the Libra, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a reason that I keep my mind occupied 100% of the time, and any time I have a thought that is my own like doom scrolling of my own emotions, I shove that shit down as far as possible, because I'm like, I need a will to live.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
And I think that the whole aspect of him not thinking about Christopher, but also talking about it with Eddie. Well, the whole talking about it with Eddie part, I think that they just won't go there, because then they would have to acknowledge what they've been doing this entire time, which is extremely heavy and romantic coded.
Yeah. I mean, it's also, though, I think if we want to look at it this way, like Buck does have inner workings of himself, even if he's maybe sometimes not so aware of it. I think he also doesn't really want to analyze how he feels about Chris leaving for himself, because he also knows that he has to be there for Eddie, and what Eddie is feeling about Christopher leaving is more important than what Buck feels about Christopher leaving.
I think that he doesn't think that he has the right to feel.
No,
exactly.
He doesn't.
Because Eddie takes importance on that, because Buck doesn't technically have any like as strong of a connection, even if you ask Chris, and it probably is not that. On top of that, Buck just has to be there for Eddie while Eddie is going through all of that. So there's no room to acknowledge any of the feelings on Buck's side.
Yeah.
I think it's also that Eddie hasn't opened up that conversation.
No.
Or asked him how
Buck's
he
waiting
is.
for him to.
And because I feel like if Eddie would ask him, like talk about his own feelings, which he hasn't done, because that would be healthy.
Is Eddie healthy?
But it was the fact that he hasn't talked about his own emotions and then asked Buck how he's doing with everything. Because even if he did that, Buck would just be like, oh, and he would brush it off because, again, it's not about him. It's about Eddie. And then Eddie would have to like prod him like, no, really, how are you doing? Like, that's how exactly it would have to go, I think, for us to outwardly, as the audience, verbally hear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like how he's dealing with it.
And Eddie's not in that place either to even ask, wait, but how are you doing? Because he's so like dealing heavily with his own stuff.
Yeah.
So like, you know, when Eddie wants to talk, Buck will let Eddie talk and be quiet about it. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing here. And when Buck wants to talk, Eddie kind of has to prompt him. Right. And we're not seeing that in either direction. It kind of has to like stem from Eddie in the first place. And he's just not in the place to even start that conversation in either direction.
I also think that you can look at Buck's face in the one moment we do get to see how he feels about Chris in this entire season. And you can see everything that you kind of need to know because he looks devastated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the birthday party in episode 1.
It's before he puts the mask back on.
Because Eddie can't see him.
It's interesting.
Or Eddie's not looking at him. I mean, he's in the corner of the screen, but he's not looking at him.
That look and the look that we get at the very end of their scene in 808, very similar looks. Because he's feeling that disappointment and then he's automatically just painting the mask back on after that.
Yeah.
And it's always in a moment that nobody is looking at him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
I have two other things for Libra. I just felt like this is relevant. Libras tend to have countless acquaintances because, like I said, they're very charming and normally outgoing, but only a handful of close friends. Which is probably good because considering everything we just talked about. Yeah.
They can't be doing everything for everybody.
No. And then I have just a quote here from a USA Today article about Libra suns. It is rare to see a Libra single. Libras usually need someone to mirror them as they figure out their own sense of individuality.
Oh my God.
And I can vouch this. My Libra best friend, never single. Never.
Mine neither. She never,
went from,
been like maybe a week in the
literally
20 years that I've known her.
Went from like a 3-year relationship to a 7-year relationship to now a 2-year plus relationship. Like, and I remember the very brief period between one of the relationships. It was just like, she was spiraling. Like, she was not okay.
Well, yeah, like even when she wasn't in a relationship, mine, she was still dating people.
Yes, mine
and
too.
Like they were not good picks.
Yeah, just trying to fill the time, basically.
Yeah,
and that's such a Buck thing. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, he's just like always searching for a romantic connection.
Yeah.
Because that's what he thinks he needs.
Well, it's partly the Venus thing. Yeah,
exactly.
But I mean, that quote, the whole thing about needing somebody to mirror you to figure out your own sense of individuality. I mean, I definitely think that Buck is using, not in a bad way, using the people that he's romantically inclined to figure out what he needs in a partner, but also what he wants in general. Like with Tommy, it was just like men in general, like exploring that kind of connection. With Abby, it was the sense of like maturity and being there for somebody when they're going through something. And with Taylor. Well, I don't know. With Taylor, well, he was trying to help her with her dad and stuff, but I think that with them, they were trying to fill that kind of companionship void in each other's lives. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the things that he really liked in Taylor are only things that she has in common with Eddie, which are like holding yourself like very confident, competent, going after what you want, even though Eddie doesn't really do that, but Buck thinks he does. And then the like, I don't want to say savageness, the just like very frankness of just like saying what's on your mind, because he
enjoyed that for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Taylor also, I think, has to have Scorpio in her chart.
Oh,
for
yes.
sure.
Almost definitely.
I don't know where, but it's there.
No, but it's there. 100%. She's probably also got a Pisces in there.
Oh, yeah. but also like what we're saying about him finding the mirror, I think that also plays into in his relationships when he ends up trying to be who he thinks the other person wants. So he's using that mirror in kind of a funhouse mirror way, like not in the way that he should be utilizing it to like to mirror himself, but he ends up mirroring them from what his perception of what he thinks that they want.
That's where his relationships are failing, because he is trying to mold and service them and not thinking about...
Well, and he's already emotionally committed to someone. But
yeah.
That's another story.
That's another story. But for sure, he's trying to be something for them and not thinking about his own sense of individuality apart from that.
Which is one of the reasons why I think it works so well with Eddie, because while Buck is a lot of things to Eddie, like helps with Christopher and is a partner at work and everything like that, Buck doesn't have to try as hard and like nearly as hard. Like it's in fact, I don't think he tries at all. It's the most him that he is with someone that he would call a partner,
because Eddie knows who he really is, and he knows
someone that he does call a partner.
He lets Buck be who he is when he is doing his Buck related spirals and things.
And Buck and Eddie know each other so well that Buck kind of knows Buck's perception of what Eddie wants Buck to be is exactly what Buck is. Because they know each other so well, because they have such a strong foundational relationship. So he doesn't have to, he can use Eddie as a mirror in the way that it's supposed to be, rather than turning it around in that way.
Yeah. I think this leads us to Buck's Cancer moon. So as the resident Cancer, let me tell you.
That's you.
Let me tell you some things. Cancers are a water sign. If you didn't know that, we're the crab. We'll talk about that in a minute. But water signs are sensitive and tenderhearted, and they lead with their heart. They absorb the energy of the world around them, and the way they portray their emotions may not make sense to the other elements, because water signs are known to get their wires crossed with their emotions.
Whoa, if that ain't Buck.
But like, when water signs are talking to each other, it's like Spider-Man at each other and going, exactly.
I'm sorry, just like get their wires crossed with their emotions. I'm sorry, that just gives the I was jealous and I wanted to get your attention.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, I think someone got their wires crossed there, so.
Yes. Yeah, sometimes we can be a lot better at perceiving and understanding everyone else's emotions than actually like processing our own. I don't know if that's a water sign thing in general, or if I'm just speaking for Cancer, but it's definitely a Cancer thing. They love deeply, and that can sometimes come off as clingy or overly attached because, again, of how deeply water signs feel. Cancer is ruled by the moon, which is real bad for us. Because why? Oh, the moon is constantly fucking changing.
Wait, I'm sorry. I will let you continue, but just
no, I'm gonna let you finish.
I'm gonna let you finish. But when these, Listen, when these parallels pop into my head, I have to say them. I mean, any time we're talking about like moon stuff, especially in relation to Buck and the whole season 1 episode 7 creepy AF full moon episode, and that's the one that Buck and Abby get together in some other ways. That's just throwing that out there for thought. Just interesting. Which also connects
the moon made him do it.
When other people say the moon made them do it, it's fucking bullshit. But when Cancer say it, that shit is literal. It's literally true.
See?
So being ruled by the moon means that you have a lot of emotional sensitivity, which again, this is similar with water signs too. Strong ability to feel and understand emotions, both their own and others. You have a heightened sense of intuition, having gut feelings. I think Buck operates mostly off of gut feelings.
Yeah.
Same.
So almost solely off of gut feelings.
Yeah. We are very much about home and family and the hearth, and we have a strong attachment to family and the concept of home, which is why Buck is so fucked up.
Ooh.
I mean, like, it would fuck anyone up, but I feel like being a Cancer moon
and not having your emotional needs met.
When like you were like Cancer is like the divine feminine mother energy of the zodiac. Like, we are the mother of the zodiac. So like we are literally like the homemakers. We are obsessed with like building a home, building a family, feeling safe, and making everyone who is in that home feel safe and comfortable. So yeah, it's why he just continues to just like be miserable, because he just he didn't have like a family. Like, he had Maddie, but he didn't have like a family that met any of his emotional needs growing up. Didn't have a home. And he has a home in the 118, but he still doesn't have like a nuclear home. I don't consider that loft a home, and I don't think he does either.
No.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just the place where he sleeps.
It took him how many years to finally put anything up on his fridge? I'm sorry.
8.
Very clinical.
8 years.
Exactly. And being ruled by the moon also gives you like a subconscious awareness, like an ability to access like deeper inner thoughts and feelings. Sometimes when you want to, and sometimes when you don't. So you could call these intrusive thoughts. Maybe. But yeah, some general personality traits then just of Cancers that we are extremely caring and compassionate and always looking out for the needs of others. He got double people pleaser.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
In his chart. So unfortunate. And again, being like a nurturer and wanting to be a caregiver, or being like a natural caregiver. Because again, that divine feminine energy thing. The empathetic empath thing, I'm just going to touch on really quick, because like, not only does Buck feel his emotions very deeply, but I feel like he is constantly feeling everyone else's emotions very deeply.
So empathic.
Especially Eddie's and Bobby's and Maddie's.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Like, he's very in tune to those specifically. And it makes sense, because they are like
the most important people to him. Yeah.
Exactly. And the people he's closest to, and the people that he wants to please the most. Right?
Yep. Absolutely. But yeah, I feel like this has led to some of the like overstimulation spidey sense kind of scenes we see with him. As like, most notably, the most recent one is like episode 1 of season 8. At the end of the episode, when he has his like overstimulation moment, because he is up in his own like hyper, feelings because of Gerard coming at him. And but I think he's also still operating off of all of like everyone around him is like in turmoil. And I think he's just picking up on that. And I think that like that also fed into not just how we talked about his reaction when he's like, we should all just quit. How that was like a Libra thing because of a fairness thing. I also feel like it's a, I want to take you away from the thing that is giving you all like emotional turmoil. Cancers like to martyr themselves. Like there's kind of nothing we love more
oh my God.
than to martyr ourselves.
Oh my God.
In as small and as large ways as possible. Any way that we can possibly sacrifice our own happiness, well-being. We'll take the hit. It's fine. We love to do it.
Oh my goodness.
It's just what you do.
I mean, it's hard to find a more martyr than Buck. The only other person I can think of is Dean Winchester. So,
what is his sign?
Aquarius.
Oh, one Aquarius. Yeah, I'm trying to think if they have a martyr thing too. I just know that my Aquarius does. Not my Aquarius rising. Our good friend Steve has a problem with that as well. But yeah, sorry, back to Cancers. We have a real big fear of abandonment, and that ties into the like how important like the home and the family and all of that is. But it also really ties into like the hyper empathy thing too, and how deeply we feel things. And we can't let shit go. Can't do it. We can't. Sometimes we don't even want to. I mean, we want to try.
Makes sense.
It was going along with the martyr complex, right? Willing to martyr yourself at any minor inconvenience that someone else might have around you. Then the like mirror of that is that we also would rather die than ask for help. Like in any way, shape, or form. So I think that's also a huge problem that Buck suffers from, is that he tends to, literally throw himself in the fire, or metaphorical ones. And, when he needs someone to return the favor, he's never going to A, let anyone know if he can help it, and B, ask for help. Even if he desperately needs it, even if he's drowning, like when he is during the lawsuit, he doesn't ask for help.
Nope. He needs a life raft, which would also have helped him in the tsunami.
Oh God, Rachel.
Sorry.
It's my bad for putting labyrinth in there.
You give me metaphor, I run with it.
You give me metaphor, I give you metaphor.
Yeah. Just gonna say, and we know who is the Nick Miller, and we know who is the Schmidt in this scenario. So, Jesus, that's all I was gonna say.
I will say, okay, let me come back to the crab thing. I guess this is a good time to do it. Okay, so when you think of a crab, hard shell, right, and the pincers. But I bet when you think of like a Cancer in your life, that's not exactly how you think about them. You don't think about them as like an especially like, prickly person towards you anyway. Maybe towards the general population, depending on your flavor of Cancer. But I feel like the reason the crab was chosen, not just because it lives in the water, because it's a water sign, is because we do not let you in. Like, we have a very hard exterior to crack, to get through before we will let you in. Like, we could care about you and do things for you, but in order for us to like really let you in, especially to like know and see our emotions, God fucking forbid, which is like our nightmare. Talking about our own emotions, nightmare. So it's a very hard shell to break, and sometimes you could get a claw trying to do it in the process. Or even if we've let you in, if we feel like we need to protect ourselves, sometimes you might be in some pain.
Gonna get pinched.
Like maybe if you triggered our fucking fear of abandonment because you made us feel like you, A, didn't really care if we came back to work at the place that is our home and family, and B, that you didn't think that we were good enough to do it.
Woof.
I don't know. Could maybe trigger us to do something drastic.
Like a lawsuit, you mean?
Possibly. I mean, that would be my first reaction. But like, I don't blame him. This is like an indirect quote, but there is something that basically said, one night stands won't cut it.
Wow.
Because we want to merge at a deep soul level.
Oh, okay.
Wow. That really.
Because we need that emotion, like, you know what I mean? We need that emotional connection.
And what does Buck want more than anything? It's connection.
Oof. He doesn't just want a home and a family. He wants that deep soul level connection. And that's the problem in all the people. Yes, but that's the problem that he has in all these relationships, I think, is that he doesn't feel that. And he thinks that if he just tries harder, it'll eventually happen.
It's not how that works. That's not how any of this works.
No. And then these are just some quick little like reads or facts about Cancer moons, I think specifically. Quick to anger if a loved one is wronged or threatened, but are also one of the most loving and supportive people you could ever hope to meet, which I feel like tracks for him 100%.
Yeah.
Very intuitive and drawn to careers where they can help others. I think that there are a lot of reasons why being a firefighter is so important to him, to the point where it's like kind of unhealthy because he doesn't feel like he has value if he does any other job. But I think a big reason is because he never found any other job fulfilling because, he worked a bunch of odd jobs, in his travels. But this is the first one where he really felt like
he was making a difference.
He was helping people
and making a difference in people's lives. So it's another form of like that people pleasing.
A little
in a different
way. I feel
way.
like it's more like a taking care, nurturing, like caregiver kind of thing, where like it can manifest in a lot of different ways, but I feel like Bucks manifests very classically in what you would think of when you think of like caregiver, nurturer. He loves kids and he likes taking care of people. And then we have Cancer moons have the ability to make everyone around them feel safe, seen, and understood. And I think he does this with every single person around him at one point or another, and a regular basis for a lot of them. I mean, there are a lot of reasons I think Eddie always comes to him for advice, but I think the fact that Eddie does feel seen and known and understood and safe to say the craziest shit that you could ever possibly imagine, and that he will only be mildly judged in facial expression alone, that he feels safe and confiding in him. Cancers can also access and learn from their vivid and symbolic dreams. I have never once done that. I have very vivid dreams. I can't fucking remember shit once I wake up. I just know they're all pretty terrible. But I thought that this stood out because of like how vivid and beat you over the head symbolic his coma dream was, and how he like came out of that coma dream like he had been in several years of therapy. So I really was like, oh yeah, he really tapped in and learned of that.
Yeah.
In a way that I feel like would have been weird to have that kind of storyline for other characters on the show.
Oh my God, yeah, for sure.
To wake up and be like, I'm changed.
Yeah. That was just such a Buck thing to happen.
Oh, yeah. Because I think that also kind of goes in this as well. It kind of speaks towards his, like not analytical of self sort of thing. So, and it's very much in line with his radical self-acceptance. So like him therapizing himself through the coma dream, and then he wakes up and he's like, oh yes, this is who I am now.
Yep.
I'm healed.
Yeah, that was the only thing wrong.
Makes sense.
At all. Now everything's perfect. Last little note that I have is that Taylor Swift is also a Cancer moon.
Yeah. That says so much.
Yeah, it explains a lot.
Someone who can tap into like multi-generational psyche, emotionally connect to billions of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
One of the Leos want to lead this one? Because I feel like I just talked for 80 years.
Yeah, but I can't speak for the Cancers.
Yes, you knew Cancer better than we did. You had a personal one-on-one experience with Cancer.
Unfortunately.
Who are we to tell you?
I mean, I'm not
your
a Cancer moon, so it's not a direct translation, but it's, it's close.
Neither is mine because I'm a Leo moon and we put Buck as a Leo rising, but
True.
Leo is a fire sign, which tends to be very like passionate, energetic, and charming, sometimes hot-tempered, but they also tend to be leaders. And I feel like that is all pretty Buck. Leo is ruled by the sun, and that's kind of rules kind of like the ego, drive, and outward expression. So just like very sunshiny in your face, like at all times sort of thing. Some personality traits found with people exhibiting signs in Leo. They tend to be bright, good-natured, magnetic. So that charming magnetism, just drawing people in kind of effortlessly without a lot of practice or effort to do so. It just kind of comes naturally, which I think it does to Buck as well. They tend to, I don't know if it's like to be the center of attention or just are the center of attention, which can be different things.
With my experience of Leos, it's both. They enjoy the attention and they also find themselves at the center of attention a lot.
That's because of that's because of like that charming magnetism. And it's just like, whereas some people would feel more uncomfortable in the spotlight, Leos tend to thrive, I guess, a little bit more.
And I mean, like, Leo is ruled by the sun. The sun is at the center of the universe.
That makes sense. We are heliocentric.
I also feel like if I had to name a sign that needed claps to survive.
Oh, yeah, it's a Leo.
It's Leo.
The validation, the need for feedback. And I mean, like, when you see him with Gerard in 801, he's literally going out of his way to impress him, trying to get that kind of leadership where somebody is telling him, yes, you're doing a good job. You're doing
that acknowledgement.
Right? Yep. And he's just never getting it. He's wilting away because he's not getting that internal and outward feedback.
Yeah, speaking of which, Leos can tend to be a little bit perfectionists and harsh on themselves. So in that example that you just gave, Chrissy, like exactly, because he keeps trying so hard to earn that admiration, that respect that he so desperately wants from, a pseudo father figure / boss. Not that Gerard would be the father figure. You know
you just replaced Buffy, but yeah.
So it really is like he's pushing himself very hard in order to achieve that, right? Which does end up thrusting him in the spotlight in a way that doesn't benefit him as much because Gerard goes so harsh on everybody. Also, relatedly, Leos tend to walk through life not expecting to fail. So like things just come easier to them, right? Because they have so much of this draw for, I think, mostly people that things just come a little easier and they don't have to like...
Things just work out for them.
There's confidence. There's natural, intuitive confidence with Leos, I think. Yeah. Also why they're just such natural born leaders. And I mean, like, in work, Buck is just exactly that. He will literally charge into a burning building and think to himself, yeah, I'm going to get out of this. And there's not a single doubt in his mind. And he just really firmly believes in that.
Well, yes.
His
confidence in himself and his capabilities is one of the reasons why he ends up making some of these reckless or more reckless moves and decisions. Is because that Bobby or Eddie would say would be reckless, but he knows within himself, like that is within his capabilities, and it's just he's just gonna do it and it's gonna work out fine. Like
But on the other side, I think that Leos, because they're so hot-tempered, they're naturally impulsive as well. And that
it's the flip side to that coin.
Exactly. And like he will just act on his intuition and believe it's all going to work out. That's very impulsive.
Yeah. And the thing is, even when he acts on impulse like that, it still, for the most part,
will work out. Yep.
Will work out for him. Just lucky like that.
And he has his good intuition from both the Libra and the Cancer to fall back on for that. So that helps.
Those tend to pop out a little bit when he's not on the job, and it's the Leo impulsiveness when he is working. I think.
Yeah.
No, I know. I just meant his good intuition helps him with the impulsive decisions to just work out because he has good intuition.
Yeah.
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 I definitely think the Leo pops out the most when he's on the job.
Like that is the persona that he takes. Well, it's the rising sign. It's the persona that he takes on.
And I would say it also comes out in relationships, at least at the very start of relationships, because I think that, once again, it's the performance. It's how he's trying to present himself. The charming nature, the passion, the ego, etc.
The ego. Which is also, I think we've talked about how, he doesn't end up pursuing a lot of relationships. Like people come to him, and I think this also plays into the Leo rising of it with that charming magnetism. Like he just draws people in, so he doesn't have to actively as much go looking for it, because he just has to like stand in one place and people flock.
Yes.
Like he doesn't have to dress up and go to a golf course trying to pick up women.
Oh my God.
Oh God.
No, for a second I was thinking the Top Golf with Gerard, because we were just talking about Gerard, and I was like, they were picking what? That's not what I remembered.
No. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Interesting parallel, actually, though.
It is.
Hadn't thought about that.
No, but he also just settles. Like anyone who shows him attention, he's just like, you've shown me attention and you're in front of me. That seems like a sign. Like that should just work.
That's
seems
also
correct.
Because generally things work out for him, except in these cases where he's still on the hamster wheel, and none of those things have worked out for him. So like, that's kind of a whole different conversation. But yeah, that's kind of like the flip side to that again, where because he doesn't really go actively searching out those kind of relationships, they just come to him. So he thinks like, yeah, okay, they came to me. Great.
Yeah,
that's all I need to do.
It should work out.
Yeah, that's exactly what.
And it's absolutely in part validation of the ego. Him being like, oh, they want me. They see something.
I'm chosen.
Yeah, exactly. It's the whole aspect
choose me, love me.
Feeling good about yourself because somebody is validating that side of you.
And this goes. It's Buck's deep-rooted desire to be seen. So then what does he do? He makes himself the brightest thing in the sky. So people see him, even though you can't look at it directly. So a lot of times when he thinks that he's being seen, he's not actually. We talk about that all the time.
See me, Norman.
It's because what you just said, which I don't know if we have like talked about it in that exact way before, but the fact that like he uses this mask of the Leo mask to not only like pick people up or draw people to him, but that is kind of what he is also putting in the most forefront of who he is in a relationship. And so then he's like, why don't I feel like they don't actually know me at all? And it's like, well, you aren't showing them your actual self.
Exactly.
This is just the presentation. It's not your truest self. It's not when you're at peace. They're only validating the parts of you that are at the surface, not the deeper rooted stuff.
And it's almost like, no, why do I have just like the idea, like continue the metaphor of like the sun, it's like it's just all of this gas, right, surrounding a much smaller core that you can't see until it supernovas and then like literally like blow up your life, and then that's all that will be left, right? That's as far as I got in the 2 seconds that I thought of that, but but also just silly, really silly, goofy aside, if we're still going with that metaphor of Buck is the sun, who do we see wear sunglasses the most on calls? And it's Eddie.
I was gonna say,
is it Eddie?
I think it is.
It's not Chimney?
Well, between the two of them?
I feel like he does. I feel like he does
he wears the sunglasses
the most, yeah.
I don't know. I just had that image from like 807 where Eddie is the only one wearing sunglasses, even though they're all outside. And
sorry, my brain just went, Eddie will stare directly at the sun, but never in the mirror.
Yeah.
That's so true. Great metaphor and it's like, Buddy.
You thought this was an astrology episode.
It's secretly a Taylor Swift. Torture Poets Department Part 3, Secret.
Oh my god.
Secret third option. Yeah, like, and that's the thing though, right? Eddie is the only one willing to stare at the sun. Because he sees Buck, and nobody else, everyone is like, has to shield their eyes after a certain amount of time, and Eddie's just like, I'm gonna go blind.
Well,
like,
this is also why he's not just doing this in his romantic relationships, he's doing this in his relationships with the 118 as well. He does it the least with Eddie.
Yeah, because Eddie sees him, actually.
But you know how we talk repeatedly, because it keeps happening. The 118 fundamentally misunderstand him for a long time, and they still do sometimes.
Yeah, that's because of this.
It's because of this. It's because they see Leo frat boy Buck.
That is the frat boy energy.
Yeah, and they're like, that's Buck's core, and it's like it's not
just
even
the
close.
Presentation. It's the presentation.
It's just the wrapping paper. It's just
It's literally the performance of Buck 1.0, and that ended up being like the lasting impression. So again, it's harder for them to look past all of that without the sunglasses, right? And Leos are very radiant and bright, and they enjoy the spotlight as well. I really liked this one. Leos tend to be curious creatures who enjoy exploring and keeping their childlike spirit alive from start to finish. And I feel like that's Buck. Like, curious, always wanting to learn, very childlike spirit. I think that is one of the reasons why he connects with kids so easily.
That and the Cancer moon.
That emotionality, but also like that brightness that like draws them to him too. You know, we're talking about how he utilizes his Leo rising for like his work persona. And Leos are also driven by their desires, and it's hard to find an unmotivated Leo. So like and this is why, or I think one of the reasons why firefighting is his life, and he's so motivated to keep this life because of what we talked about with the Libra and the Cancer moon, where he's like very helpful. He's able to help people and actually make a difference. And that is what keeps him motivated and like charged to keep firefighting as like his main personality trait. A couple little reads about Leo risings specifically. Because the sun never moves backward in its orbit. Well, because everything orbits around the sun. Leo risings are never held back from illuminating the spaces that surround them. And they take friendship very seriously, but don't mistake their friendliness with actual friendship. Leo risings are natural charmers, like we've mentioned, and it's easy to feel as though you're closer to them than you actually are, which shouldn't be taken personally. It's just Leo risings give so much to those they care about. And I feel like that really meshes a lot of that Libra, those Libra qualities together too, in like a kind of harmonious, but possibly like harmful way.
Yeah.
And then Leo risings are generous souls who will spend hours. I liked this one because it's just Buck with like that curious nature and childlike spirit. They're generous and will spend hours researching for a friend with a mysterious problem, cheerlead for their best friend who's pursuing their dreams, and be fully present for a loved one in need. And I think every single point in that sentence is what Buck does for Eddie.
Yeah, 100%.
Specifically.
He's doing all of those things right now, even though he is dying inside.
Yeah,
great.
Exactly. But like, how many times has he like researched something? Well, we know he's just curious and he likes to research things anyways, but he researched like how to get through the bureaucratic red tape to help Christopher, and willing to push his own personal things aside to cheerlead for Eddie and be the person that he leans on and help him find a house in El Paso, and be fully present for that. Everything, that's what Buck does for Eddie. And that's like the true nature of like his Leo rising, which Eddie is again able to see because Buck is the most himself with Eddie. Huzzah.
Any final thoughts on Buckaroo?
I'm sure we'll have more.
I just feel like all of these parts of himself complement each other pretty well.
Yeah. Like there's nothing that really, like there's so much overlap with these. It doesn't seem
comes out in different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they're very related. So one thing leads to another a little bit.
The values of each part are very in line with each other. I feel like there's no opposing conflict between each aspect. It's just like all of it is complementary.
Yeah. It just feels so Buck.
Yeah. And I mean, like, we'll get into the same thing with Eddie next. I feel like his big three are also complementary. Taurus is an earth sign. They're very rooted and grounded in their approach to life. I feel like they value stability. They value putting down roots and letting those roots grow.
Oh, wow. Right out the gate.
It says, work hard, play harder. And you know what? Yeah, I feel like Eddie really wants to... He just gives everything 100%. If he feels strongly about it, he will give it 100%. Maybe even to his own detriment.
Yes. This is why when he chooses things for himself, which are the play harder, it ends up blowing back on him. Like
he goes a little bit too far sometimes.
like Fight Club and
oh yeah, I was kind of thinking specifically just when he is given the opportunity to actually let loose, which is like very
that too
little. But like the bachelor party comes.
Oh yeah, he went hard.
Yeah.
He was really
like, I gotta make up for like
20 years.
Oh my
this one night.
He would do that too. It's like, I gotta get everything out just one night. It's like The Hangover.
Circling back to Buck being ruled by Venus with the Libra, Eddie is also ruled by Venus with Taurus. While I feel like the values are the same, though it manifests in a different way.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, Venus, the sign of love, Buck is like spending his entire journey searching for love, whereas I think that Eddie is trying to find love, but missing it because he's not fully looking at what he needs properly. And
he's looking at other needs.
Both of their storylines are like kind of driven by this drive to find love. And I feel like with Buck, it's like that completion of family. And with Eddie, it's that unraveling of sexuality. And also the aspect of the whole traditionalist sense of completion of family as well.
Yeah, I think Eddie thinks that he's trying to look for it for a completion of family, similar to how Buck is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the reasons why it doesn't work for him.
Because he doesn't need it in the same way. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, he doesn't.
I really want to explore more how both of those interact.
Well, we'll get back to that because
okay.
Well, after we discuss Eddie, we're gonna have the buddy section with how Taurus and Libra interact. But anyway, so Taurus personality traits, they're practical, they're responsible, dependable, very all or nothing, strong sense of responsibility. Definitely applies to Eddie. All of these things. His core is how he was grown up, how he was molded to be, is like a stable pillar in everyone's lives, and
like the load-bearing beam.
He has the burden. He has the burden on him. He has to be the responsible one, the dependable one. And I think inherently that hammered in this practicality in him 100%.
Oh yeah.
But then you have the opposite side, which is like Taurans are very like protective and loyal and loving and just very emotionally intuitively intelligent and perceptive. And once again, I feel like the sign of Taurus just embodies this idea of stability and rootedness, groundedness. They need to be the pillar. They are the pillar. They're like firm.
Because the Taurus is the bull, right?
Yes. Which, I mean, next point is that they're persistent and stubborn. Taurans are notoriously stubborn. I feel like the most stubborn person I know in my life is my mother. And she's a Taurus.
They're kind of like immovable objects.
They're immovable. 100%.
Once they've made a decision about something, they're sticking to it. Kind of like, oh yes, all or nothing. I am going to move my entire life to El Paso. I have made the decision and nobody is going to change that decision.
So stubborn. Even like how he acts with Shannon. Once he makes up his mind on what he thinks is right, he's like, yes, this is the correct method. I'm going to be stubborn about this. And his parents too. He's like, okay, I feel this way towards you. That's not changing.
Like there's a lack of flexibility there a little bit. Like he really kind of digs in his heels, and some may say he digs them in about 40 feet.
Yep.
Wow.
We went through this whole... hold on.
Not long.
Might be a record.
Thank you. I bring up the well every time. I can find a way to bring it up. So sorry. Please continue.
I do help. I will admit.
It was applicable.
Thank you.
I was just going to add to the stubbornness anyway. His sense of reality. So like...
Just the way you started that off.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Well, I mean, I want to know what you guys thought I was going to say. What else? How was I going to approach that?
I mean, I thought you were going to say he's delusional.
Okay, so that's funny. It's like a double-edged sword because you have Eddie who's like, I don't believe in signs, and I'm like, there's nothing. It has to be about common sense and whatever. And then you have this man who
practicality.
Yeah, and then you have him do all these other insane things, starting with Kim. That was insanity. You are delusional. I don't know how you have a sense of reality with the your sun sign being a Taurus, but like, I mean, I guess you are so deeply rooted in the fact that was going to work out for you, but
it was literally just a thought entered his head and he was like,
and he went with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what he does. A thought enters his head. He says, okay, that's it. And goes with it without any
like a bull.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like he can plant himself in and be an immovable object, but he can also plow through any good ideas that could possibly exist in his empty little head.
when he makes that decision to charge forward, there is nothing stopping it. So he's either an immovable object or an unstoppable force.
Yeah.
He contains multitudes.
He does. It's too many layers.
Incredible.
He's an onion.
What a character.
Oh my God. Eddie Diaz. Oh my God.
Mm-mm-mm.
Well, some reads of the Taurus sign. It says, wears the same outfit every day.
Oh,
I mean,
like a Henley in 8 different colors?
I mean, I completely see this because the Taurus is the fixed sign. Fixed signs hate change. So I feel like he is just going to be the kind of person that's like, this works, and just applies that across the board. It works. Why change it?
I like it. I'm going to buy it in another color.
Exactly.
I like it. I'm going to buy it in another
Can this
color.
be applied to his like aversion to Hildy?
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely. Does not like change.
Yeah, because it's unknown.
It's unnatural.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Does not want to learn new thing.
No. Well, it's also something because like Cancers are very, about the home, but so are Taurans.
Yeah.
Like they pretty much, and I guess some Cancers, including this one, kind of just like never want to leave their house if possible. They would like to be there all the time. So I think it might have something to do with like feeling unsafe and like something that he can't control happening in like what is supposed to be his like sacred safe.
Also, Taurus, I feel like they're such like they love like existing in that comfortability. And that's why they're such homebodies. And this is also
absolutely.
with Eddie. He just likes to stay in his comfort zone. Like he finds a comfort zone. He's like, oh, this works. This is what works for me. I need to stay here. This is why across the board, there's so many similarities in the women he dates.
Yeah, we've said so many times he has a type.
Yeah, because he's like, oh, this works, so I'm just gonna apply the same logic across the board. Oh, this will work.
Right. And it's so funny because like you would think because he's a firefighter and he's been in the army and he does these kind of like very dangerous jobs, like it would be going out of his comfort zone, but contradictorily that is his comfort zone. He feels the most at home when there are like dangers put in front of him and he has to navigate those.
Yeah.
It's when things are going too smoothly that he decides to put these obstacles and barriers in his own path, and why he tends to continue to blow up his life when things are going too well, too smoothly. And also the idea about, this may be just like specifically, like smart devices in the home. I think that also would be his like technophobia, would be him feeling perceived in his place of comfort. Whereas where he doesn't have to have that layer of performance on, but if he's, if the device over there is listening to him at all times or like watching him or something like that, he's going to feel perceived and therefore will end up putting up walls and not comfortable at home.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I think that works. That's everything that you just said. It's just so Eddie. He has a very rigid sense of what works, and he will apply that across the board with every aspect of his life. Like firefighting and being a soldier, I feel like there are similarities in those jobs, like what's required of him in those jobs.
Because those are very rigid jobs too.
Yeah, man. Eddie, just such an interesting person.
He really is. He's so multifaceted and like layered.
The second read says, uses their well-developed insightfulness to be of service to others.
Which is different than Buck's propensity to...
his servicing with the Libra.
Yeah, to be a people pleaser and help others. I feel like these come from like a different place, if that makes sense. Like almost like the want to help others and be helpful comes from like more of a heart area, but the insightfulness in to be of service to others is more like
head, 100%
head centered,
and responsibility.
And that's also going back to like Taurus being like the practical sign and the sign that's craving that stability and rootedness. I feel like developing and honing in on that skill of practicality, they learn how to be of service to others, what's most effective. And that's such an earth sign
practiced
thing, for sure. Exactly. He knows what works. And I feel like that comes across in how he works on the job, for sure.
Yeah, it's very, I guess a good way to sum it up would be just in general, Buck leads with the heart and Eddie leads with the head.
Yeah. And sometimes the head isn't right.
It's so true.
That head is not right.
That head is not screwed on straight.
Frank probably cleared him to work against his
better
judgment.
Well, absolutely. Oh, that's really interesting.
Sorry, I just thought of Frank finding out about the Kim situation.
Oh my God.
Where is that fic?
But like, because he's not going to therapy, so like, where would he hear it? What if Frank is friends with Father Brian?
Oh my God, stop.
Oh, I believe it.
That'd be so bad.
Frank being friends with Father Brian would be crazy.
And they're having a little kiki.
Someone needs to make this.
Oh my God.
That would be hilarious.
That is crazy work.
Anyway.
Speaking of crazy.
Crazy.
No, that's perfect. Please continue.
Eddie's moon sign, a Scorpio. It is a water sign. You know, they tend to be intense, but also sensitive, tenderhearted, lead with their heart. They absorb the energy of the world around them. The way they portray their emotions may not make sense to the other elements because water signs are known to get their wires crossed with their emotions. But they also love deeply, which can come off as clingy or overly attached, which in my experience, I can become clingy and over-attached. And then I guess that's where, you know, you lead into that possessive behavior, which is that one negative aspect, and then the jealousy, and then
yeah, that's all the intensity of the Scorpio.
Yep.
Sorry, my brain just went, his fiance's Abby.
Yeah, you know, he does display a lot of this, especially towards like Buck's relationships, starting with like what Han just said. The pettiness towards Taylor. The weird 180 he does with Tommy.
Yeah.
That's also like, I feel like if I was Eddie and the person that I was interested in was in a relationship, I think I would also like try to distance myself away and just be like, let me protect myself and not like, you know, I mean, like I'll probably have that whole, oh yeah, you know, you should actually basically what he does in that episode, which is like, go call Tommy, you know, like be supportive in some kind of way. Meanwhile, also thinking about like 5 million ways to kill a man.
So true.
It's unrelated.
But yeah, there's that.
Scorpio, just like Taurus, is seems a little bit of like an all or nothing sort of thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's very true.
Like pendulum swinging from one end to the other with that intensity.
So the moon in Scorpio, according to this, indicates a mysterious and reserved person. They're also not someone to be taken lightly. They need intensity and passion. And like I said, they can be very, fairly possessive. They can be resilient, but they can also be transformative, which, you know, we see Eddie do, especially in this season. Like he's going through a transformation and it manifests in our favorite mustache. And yeah,
rip.
rest in peace.
Oh, no. Our little soldier.
Gone but never forgotten.
Moon and Scorpio, like they're like just tapping onto that resiliency. With resilience, you are also a survivor. So I mean, like, I know we're speaking about emotions, but I think that Eddie has gone through the ringer since, like, since basically from, canonically speaking, 10 years old.
Yeah.
Someone with a Scorpio moon also really struggled in childhood. Which was like, I was like, oh yeah, that's him. That's kind of what makes you, basically what I'm saying is it reflects, your struggle in childhood reflects how you are in your adult life emotionally. So Scorpio is ruled by Mars and Pluto.
You're so special. You get to.
That's nice. I love that.
Is it Mars because Pluto was taken off the planetary?
So when I was reading the other thing that I was reading, it actually was that Mars was first.
Oh.
So it was ruled by Mars first, and then the discovery of Pluto that's how Pluto got added on. Yeah. So yeah, we're special. We get two. We get the planet of, what is it? War. Mars is represents war, and Pluto is like this mysterious, transformative, all this other stuff.
Very intense.
Yeah, Mars represents like desire and energy, passion.
Conflict, competition, danger. Basically a superhero ready to embark on missions impossible that others would run the fuck away from, which is true because we see him, especially on the job, acting like climbing up the wall, like the house to save that one kid, going into the well because, like, forget that, we already mentioned the well,
cutting his rope,
cutting his crazy, man, crazy.
Doing the half Raboa this season, partial Raboa.
Also just like literally ready to embark on missions impossible. Like, he was providing for his family by running off to the army, and he even said during the Merry Xmas episode, like, people saw him and they called him a hero. He was running off to be heroic, even though that's like not necessarily the impetus for the reason behind it, but like the why is not the how in this case.
He seems to run towards things in order to run away from something else. Interesting.
Because again, that is like where his comfort zone is. His comfort zone is ironically like danger zones.
It looks like he likes to be in a high stress situation.
Which also is probably one of the reasons why he likes Tom Cruise movies so much.
Yeah.
Do you think he's so comfortable in the chaos and the stress because that's all he knows since he was 10?
Yeah.
I could believe that.
Yeah, again, because when things are too quiet or too stable, too steady, that's when he, boom.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that ties into how we can also become very self-destructive. I see that. I say that about myself sometimes. If it's like too, like, if there's not something to kind of like, I don't want to say upset, hyperfixate over. I got something just, I guess that's part of the reason why our wires get crossed, and we find a reason to obsess over something very minor and then just like self-destruct and ruin our life. But eventually we'll come back from that. That's where that transformative thing is. Like it takes a minute. It takes a while, but
you have to go through something in order to come out the other side.
Yeah, I think we've been akin to a phoenix rising from the ashes, yada yada yada. Oh, ashes. Sorry. Yeah, he blew up his life. He'll he'll come back from that. Anyway, speaking of
arrows up from the dead, I do it all the time. So sorry.
Yeah. I mean, this is why, I mean, that song is not in the Tortured Poets department, but we gave him that album. So, I mean, anyway, Pluto, as far as Pluto goes, you know, a Scorpio will have the energy and ambition and human understanding to control and navigate their pathway to the very top of any ambition that they choose. They've got layers and levels and secrets and depths. Basically, your psyche is a labyrinth, which is true. His internal processes are very, like, a very interesting aspect of him where you kind of just want to know what's going on in there. Because obviously, because like we said previously, that head is not screwed on correctly. I feel like I'm bashing him a little bit, but I'm not. This is said with all the love that I have because
we love him so much.
This is all from love.
This is all from love and like a very deep understanding of like where this man is coming from.
In case this is your very first episode of this podcast, which interesting choice. If it wasn't made apparent by the fact that we're spending hours talking about the astrology of these two characters and the name of our podcast, we are very pro-positive. These characters.
Yeah. There is no bashing here.
I support men's rights and wrongs.
Especially Eddie's.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's done a lot of wrongs.
Oh,
My man, and I'm sticking by him.
For real. God, no, for real. Like, I mean, I have to bring in the pitchforks if someone says anything bad about Eddie. Because there are reasons. There are reasons. You just have to like go in there and peel back all of those layers to find the actual reason why he does and acts the way that he does.
Mm-hmm.
You have to dig for them.
With bare hands?
Okay.
Yeah, preferably. No, because like if you're looking at like his psyche,
it just came out. I know. I understand. You can't help yourself. I get
everything about this man. It's just because you have to know what I was. How do I bring this around to what I was trying to say?
I was talking about layers.
Yes, thank you. If we're looking at like his psyche as a labyrinth in the way of like how he represses so much, like there are dead ends that he's made dead ends because he doesn't want to walk through. And so he will just like turn right around and ignore them, repress them down.
Conceal, don't feel.
Exactly. He gets lost in his own labyrinth and he's repressed things for so long, or he's repressed them so deeply that it doesn't even like register in his consciousness anymore. And that's just like what he thinks he is, but he's wrong.
He is wrong.
He's wrong.
He is wrong. And that's the thing. Like you also need like as a Scorpio, and I guess like a Scorpio moon especially, you also need someone to kind of like bring you out of that repression, especially like what Buck does with like leading questions and like trying to get him to, hey,
his looks.
Like you need to change this thing about yourself immediately, or you need to stop doing this thing that you're doing, which is like very destructive.
He's the light, or like the lighthouse.
Yeah,
you could say in the storm. No, I was trying to make it like something related to maze.
To what?
Like a maze, like a labyrinth.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I mean, I was going to say he's the light at the end of the tunnel. I mean,
there you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. God, there are repression though. I understand that on a deep level.
It's not even that he made dead ends in the labyrinth. It's that he hung up signs there that say, do not enter. And he just goes, yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't question it.
Yeah.
We don't have time to unpack any of that.
Yeah. Meanwhile, going through those pathways are the way out of the labyrinth, but he's just gonna, if he doesn't
keep going,
like, crash, if he doesn't crash through some of those, he's just going to be wandering that maze indefinitely.
Yeah. Completely.
Yeah. He needs some help, and I think like as a Scorpio, it's very appreciative when someone does try to when someone does try to reach out and in any way, even though you don't want, so like as a Scorpio, you don't want someone to see and read all of your emotions, because like there's this like danger. It's like a danger sign to you. It's like a red flag. You don't you don't, because it could be used against you, and that's
as ammunition.
Yeah, as ammunition.
Interesting. Same defense mechanism, different reason than Cancer.
I had one more thing about the labyrinth or the maze. If he continues to repress and not like go through those false dead ends, and he's just like wandering the labyrinth, that would make him the Minotaur, right? And what is the top half of the Minotaur is a bull, which is Taurus.
Well, that's this. I don't know. You guys did a good job trying to figure it.
All right, we're out of the labyrinth.
I just had to. That was the last thing. That's all.
Okay, and just to finish up with like the Pluto. So Pluto, Scorpio and Pluto have a strong strive to control everything. So
control freak.
He's as we know, Eddie is a bit of a control freak. He's also I think adding in that stubbornness from being a Taurus and all of that, like the whole zeroing in on finding a mom for Christopher.
Yeah.
That, I mean, I feel like that's all very self-explanatory, honestly, but like just to point that out, that's the Pluto Scorpio controlling that. And then the other thing is, so I mean, I personally have like a strong intuition. I guess I should say. He should also. I just think it's a little bit broken sometimes. But they're also,
I'm broken.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how many is that, Rachel?
Good night.
She has to go in timeout. I think it's broken for himself. Like it's good for like outward things, but inward,
yeah.
A lot of times he doesn't trust his own like inner compass.
Right. And I mean, to, I guess, tie it to the broken thing, he feels things very strongly, intensely, and he's very hypersensitive, I would say. Anyway, personality traits. I feel like I already mentioned them all, but they are driven by, Scorpios are driven by ambition. They are also affectionate and loyal. They are also passionate, intense, magnetic, and powerful, which I guess I already delve into all of that because he's like, he's a lot. It's a lot, It's too much.
Never.
No.
But in the best way, to especially, this is just character analysis.
Yeah.
I don't even know the metaphor for it, but I'm going to say character analysis cake right now. Like, this is great for all of us.
It's him and Buck both think that they're too much.
Probably
because of their moon signs.
They're also resourceful, brave, stubborn. They're also a true friend. They're jealous, obsessive, suspicious, anxious, vengeful, closed off, petty. We already talked about that. Intuitive, good at reading people and understanding their motives. They're known for their passion and mystery and normally succeed in whatever they put their minds to. Scorpios are in it for the long haul. Once they commit, they will do whatever it takes to make the relationship work, which is, a strength and a curse. Can stay in relationships longer than they should.
Yeah.
Which is,
oh my God.
Wow. I mean, the whole Marisol thing. Anna.
Among others.
Anna. Shannon. I mean, actually, all of them.
Literally all of them.
There's not one.
Marisol's the most embarrassing because he asked that woman to move in, then avoided her for fucking days, asked her to move out, but like wanted to keep dating.
Yeah. Oh my God. He's in the maze.
He's got mood swings, insecurities, low self-worth, turned vindictive and spiteful when hurt or betrayed. We've seen that so many times.
Yeah.
Regarding Bobby. He's got the lone wolf syndrome, which is common. He goes into isolation and he can become extremely private. primary drives are loyalty, friendship, and a burning inner desire to create soulmate bonds and connections. They have a magnetic personality that draws others to them, yet they are selective about who they let into their inner circle. Oh, Beyonce and Chris Evans are also Scorpio moons. I was also thinking about that last dinner that he had with Shannon. I think I was talking about previously the way how like I said, like, you don't want to show your emotions to everyone. I know she was asking him, hey, what are we? And like, he didn't want to look into that. That's, that's him being.
That's a whole other can of worms.
That's a whole other, like, there's too many words to describe that aside from that whole repression. But when he finally was like, okay, I'm going to, get back. I want to, get back with her and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And she pulls out, hey, I want a divorce. Of course, I would shut that down too and repress that too, like that, and like hold on to that grudge in your head, which is kind of funny because like you basically have a grudge with a dead woman. So I think that says a lot.
It's like simultaneously, like he has a grudge against her, but has also repressed that and like put her on this weird pedestal.
Yeah.
Like, this man's full of contradictions. So many contradictions. I thought you were going to come back to the signs thing because I had that thought earlier, but didn't want to interrupt you, which is that he said he was waiting for a sign, right? To figure out like what to do about the Shannon thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then she was pregnant. So he was like, that's my sign. So then he goes to dinner with her and gives her this, like, the worst.
The life is like a box of chocolates, except it's a molten vat of chocolate, and it's warm, but it drags you down. Did you hear the words coming out of his mouth?
No, he did not.
No, but yeah. So he did all that, and then she slapped him with I think we should get divorced, and I'm leaving again, even if it wasn't like leaving them, but it was still leaving him. It was still like a rejection of him, even though he couldn't even literally figure out if he wanted to be with her until another baby was there, and then there was the responsibility of it all.
Because he runs towards things that are difficult.
But it's the fact that he used to very obviously from that arc believe in looking for signs, and then the last time he did that, it ended up with her dying. So now he's just like, signs aren't things.
No signs. Universe. No scream.
Yeah. I think I covered it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Earth risings. I'll take this one. I can't really speak personally, like from a personal place for the Capricorn rising, but I'm sure we'll come up with something. So Capricorn is an earth sign. It's rooted and grounded in their approach to life, kind of like Taurus. We'll see some similarities with that since they are both earth signs. It's that work hard, play harder mentality. Capricorn is, however, ruled by Saturn, and Saturn represents obstacles, limitations, discipline, responsibility, duty, and authenticity. Oh, that's interesting. And I know there's something like a Saturn return, which is usually between like ages of like 27 and 29. Where like after, like once Saturn has kind of like returned to that place in your birth chart, because it takes like 27, 29 years to orbit around the sun. So after that time, it's in the same place. Things are supposed to come a little easier towards you. I'm sure it has absolutely nothing to do with the full development of your frontal lobe at age like 25 to 30. But, science and astrology can commingle and intermix. But so that idea about Saturn ruling like responsibility and duty and authenticity, something that I think Eddie has always strived for, but kind of with authenticity maybe missed the mark because he's been kind of molded into a particular box for so much of his life. With being ruled by Saturn, a Capricorn can take a tenacious and steadfast approach to every obstacle, which means you can pretty much handle anything. And I think that is pretty exemplary in Eddie when he, very Tauran, like pulls through. What have we been saying? Like one of his comfort zones is something that has an obstacle. A lot of his professional life, being in the military and firefighting, he can pretty much handle anything. Like everything else is should be a cakewalk to him, but it's this that's the cakewalk.
Also, like the whole idea about Saturn being a limitation and Capricorn being like about limitations, and Capricorn being his rising being how you present yourself. I feel like there is a aspect to you being careful about what you show, and also limiting how you indulge in other things. So how you present yourself to be indulgent. I feel like Eddie is like notoriously like he pulls away. He limits himself. He gives himself a cap, and that's definitely like a Capricorn quality, I think. They're very like rigid and particular in what they show. Yeah.
He deprives himself of joy. Maybe.
Exactly.
Just decided I wanted water.
No. And that's also like that blockage to maybe his most authentic self. So personality traits that are usually present in Capricorns, they are ambitious. We see practical again, resilient. Capricorn risings in particular are known for their strategic approach to life, and they are calm under pressure and make calculated decisions. Yeah. I can't expand on that.
That's just
it's
just look at him.
It's points to all of him.
It's all there. Yeah. Like
points to all of him at work.
That
points
really,
to all of him making first impressions on people.
And that really feeds into that competency that we see, especially on first impressions, and like strategic. So he is more like head centered. And then a couple of reads about Capricorn. Capricorn energy is all about being able to stick around for a long time, not just a good time.
They want the lasting impact. They want the
oh no.
They want the image that they last a long time.
So you could say maybe not someone's first, but their last.
Ooh. Good one.
Not when they're packing up house to move to El Paso.
Okay.
It's all part of the plan.
Yeah, I know. This is the long game, okay?
It's 10 years long game.
Oh, so the Capricorn, like the sign, is it a sea? It's a goat. But why does this say sea goat? The Capricorn is a goat, right?
It
says
this is a direct quote from something, as you will notice from the quotes.
Oh, because it has like the tail?
Does it?
I thought it was just a goat.
Oh, that's interesting, actually.
Huh.
Okay, wait. I'm reading this. The top half, the goat, represents the head, thought and thinking. The bottom half, the fish, represents the spiritual, which balances out the head.
Ooh. Which is so interesting, given that we gave him 2 earth signs and a water sign, and made that comparison to a minotaur, which is also another chimera, which is half bull, half man.
Yeah. I'll continue reading this. One of the greatest lessons for Capricorn is to not get too stuck in their heads and rush to the top of the mountain. There's a lot more to life than success, and they will feel most fulfilled when they remember to connect to their other more sensual, mystical side. So I think this kind of relates to Eddie and what his like rigid beliefs and what he needs to be. Yeah. And connecting with that quote unquote spiritual side. It's not necessarily one-to-one on spirituality. It's just like what is most fulfilling to him. It's just like what gives him the most joy, for example. And that's just like discovering himself, finding out who he is aside from being a father, being a firefighter, a soldier, a son, etc.
It's the authenticity of his individuality. This is so interesting.
It is very interesting.
Do you want to read the sea goat thing now that we have established that it's a sea goat?
Yes. So apparently the sea goats, which are the symbol of Capricorn, they tend to have resting bitch face. But don't worry, they're not actually mad at you. Probably.
That resting bitch face is so real, though.
Yeah, I don't know what else to have about Capricorn that we also didn't kind of talk about for Taurus as well. Because it's like very similar. It's just like so, just like, or like dense.
Because of layers?
Yeah.
Do we want to run through these sun-moon combo things?
So this is looking at Buck and Eddie as Buddy, like kind of how each of their signs are compatible with the other, like their sun signs, moon signs, and rising signs compatible with the other one, right?
So Taurus and Libra share a good overall compatibility. They both value harmony and stability in their lives, and they're both ruled by Venus, the planet of love and beauty, which gives them like a shared appreciation of art and culture and romance. But like, if you want to think more specific about it, you can think like really valuing love, like especially specifically romantic love, finding a partner, and could face challenges due to their different approaches to decision making and conflict resolution. Interesting. We have seen that.
Yes.
This is also to do with like their attachment styles too, but the biggest one is obviously their like 24-hour divorce. Same as their 24-hour enemies to friends.
Yeah. Yes. Didn't last very long.
No, they can't. They're like physically incapable of staying mad at each other. It's kind of disgusting.
Yeah. I feel like they relate too much to each other is the problem. And that's applicable in this sun combo, but also their moon combo. Like, they just have, they're like Taurus and Libra, both ruled by Venus, similar values. And then you have the moon combo, both water signs. Like, I feel like they just love in a very similar way. They have the same kinds of interests, values, priorities.
They want the same things.
Yeah.
It's just the way that they internalize and express emotions that's different, really, ultimately, and how they handle situations. I mean, when we were talking about Buck being a Libra and Eddie being a Taurus, I mean, like, there are similarities, like the whole servicing, prioritizing people around you over yourself, prioritizing what you believe is right. And for Libra, that's because of morals. With Taurus, that's because a sense of duty and tradition.
Yeah.
And what else? I feel like both of them are people who crave that kind of stability and security, and that is exemplified in Libra and Tauran qualities. And I feel like, once again, like, just being ruled by Venus, they're true lovers. They crave that romance. They want that love. They let that steer their decisions a lot of the time.
They want to find that completion in their life, and that is through a romantic partner. How they go about finding those are different, but the end goal is pretty similar.
Yeah.
The emotional connection between Taurus and Libra is deep and profound. Triggered. Both signs have a strong need for security and stability, and they find this in each other and are able to provide the emotional support and understanding that the other needs. I think it's also like a little poetic that like they're both people who take care of everyone but themselves. So like they find this perfect match in each other so that they finally have someone who will take care of the other the way they should be taking care of themselves, the way they want and the way they need. Yeah.
I feel like Eddie, like, his entire life has revolved around taking care of Christopher, but also even before that, it was him being the eldest in the family, taking care of his siblings. I feel like with Buck, in every single relationship, it's him molding himself to them and what they need. And when you bring them together with each other, you have them both being taken care of and also taking care of the other, because that's what they're most naturally inclined to do. It's just like literally their natural instinct, which is how you get that kind of compatibility and complementing each other.
Yes.
And that's how they end up most fulfilled, because they're not going to push away the other person because that's like the person that they trust to take care of them. But also they're being trusted to be taken care of as well.
Yeah. And it's like no one would be able to take care of them the way I think they would want to be taken care of, which is how they actively take care of other people, except another person who only takes care of other people.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like matching the level of care.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yes. It's getting
those perfect getting
puzzle
back
pieces.
How much, not that it's like, tit for tat, but it's like, it's craving getting back how much you give.
Yeah, that level of understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is part of why they have such equal partnerships, because there's an equal give and take there. That like quiet comfort that they find in each other is that equal give and take as well, like emotionally, because the other one, like when the other one needs to talk, the other listens, and vice versa. It's just everything is always like on the same page. It's that mirror that Buck so desperately needs to look at in the right way. But they're both mirroring each other.
Yeah.
Which fills in the gaps of what I hate to say like need the most, not because like not to say that you need someone else to be like a whole person, but do you know what I mean?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
No, but there's things that they really need, even if it's not in a romantic relationship, that they aren't getting from other relationships, that they only get from each other. They have different issues in relationships, right? But I think it's not only like finding that like soulmate, like profound bond that they're craving. It's finding something that you can feel safe and secure in.
Yeah.
That you don't have to feel anxious or avoidant, or that you can't be yourself, or, you know what I mean? Knowing that you can show your ugliest side, and fuck up, and that they'll still be there.
When someone is at their lowest.
At their worst.
Yeah.
You're at the worst.
It's like, it's matching the other's level.
Yeah.
Always.
And I
like
feel
without even thinking.
This segs into their moon signs, because I feel like, once again, with the Scorpio moon, you're being like protective of your emotions. I feel like a part of that is that fear of vulnerability and being afraid of being misunderstood and not being validated.
Yeah.
And the exact same, the exact same thing applies to Cancer. And I feel like, in a way, there's that mirror. They see themselves in each other. There's that mutual understanding of that level of emotions and vulnerability. They're both very sensitive. They're both very emotional. You have, it says here, similar emotional language. And that's very true. I feel like when you see Buddie interacting with each other, they have a very specific way of speaking with each other. It's not necessarily, they don't like start giving speeches to each other unless it's a very specific circumstance, but they know how to cut to the core immediately. They know how to get to the important bits, the parts that matter.
There's so much that gets said without them saying anything.
Yes.
And I think this is the moon combo for sure.
All about the like inner self, the intuitive side, your intuition towards another person.
Yeah. And like these two specific signs, water signs in general, but these two specifically too, have like crazy intuition, empathy, to the point of being psychic / empaths.
Yeah.
Which is why they're so often able to communicate without saying a word.
Exactly.
And that's one of the reasons why they can so easily kind of like fall back on that
nonverbal communication.
That nonverbal communication, but that quiet comfort as well, because they are so in tune with what the other is feeling that they don't even have to verbalize it often. and they can just like be what the other needs without having to ask for it.
Yeah, that's very true.
They make me crazy.
So this is where I think I said this maybe just to Rachel. I said it to someone. Maybe it was when we had our little powwow, the four of us. This is where the freak for freak is happening.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This is where the completely obsessed with each other, possessive of each other,
The intensity.
in a way that just works and is not toxic because it's what the other wants and needs.
Yeah. Again, it's that matching levels, right?
Yep. This is where it's at because it's like they want that soul deep connection, understanding. Like, it's like when people write the fics where they're like, this isn't close enough. Like, I need to be inside their scanner, basically.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like, that's what this moon sign combo is.
Completely.
It's like intense. Yeah.
They need to like inhabit each other's like rib cages.
Yeah.
Yes.
In a non-icky way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like soul to soul.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is absolutely where Freak for Freak is emanating from. And it helps that it is so mutual. Just like everything else about their moons. It's just so reciprocal.
Yeah.
Effortlessly.
And also they're both very, like, Cancer and Scorpio, they're both very loyal, very devoted, very committed to each other once there is a commitment made.
Not going to be an Act 3 breakup for them.
Exactly.
No.
There better not be.
There won't be. I'm manifesting none.
It would make no sense because even if one of them was trying to pull some weird self-sacrificial bullshit, like the other one would just handcuff themselves
Yeah.
to the other one.
We've already
in
seen
protest.
them have a breakup. It lasted 48 hours.
Yeah, what's
They
going to
can't
happen
stay mad at
after
each
they're
other.
playing tonsil hockey? Absolutely not.
Buddy can't not mesh. Like, I feel like their first meeting lasted 24 hours. Their first fight lasted 24 hours. Like, I just don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are like incapable of, well, Buck doesn't really hold grudges, but we know Eddie can, but he's so incapable of
can't do it with Buck.
Of holding that with Buck. So it's just like, well, can't stay mad at you. So looking at their risings, which again for Buck is Leo, for Eddie is Capricorn. So Capricorn risings can also thrive with water signs who bring emotional depth and balance to their practicality. And then Leo has, since it's a rising, the opposite end of the chart would be Cancer. So like sun and moon being the opposites. And Cancer is ruled by the moon. So with that being the descendant in someone with a Leo rising's birth chart, that symbolizes serious relationships, and they tend to attract those who are nurturing and emotional in order to balance out their practical and reliable nature.
So I just find it interesting how you guys like reverse engineered their birth times, and we were kind of just like, oh, this fits. And then we plug it into the pattern, which the pattern is an app that kind of analyzes you as a person, goes deep into like childhood and stuff sometimes, and then also analyzes your partner, and then at the same time how you and your partner interact with each other. And it was just so detailed, and it blew our minds, actually. And it was just crazy because they're fictional characters, but the things that the pattern was like giving us were so specific and on the nose to their characterization in canon and how they act with each other, that it was just like, whoa, what the fuck? So we'll just like read some of the highlights of the pattern, and we'll start with Buck's pattern. It says here, you could be addicted to giving. You may feel like you can't escape your role of holding things together and become exhausted, drained, or depressed. It's like you're never providing enough. You can always do more. In response, you could become controlling or smothering, expecting a certain outcome of your love. And that, I mean,
like asking everybody to move in.
Exactly.
and Tommy, like expecting a certain outcome.
Yeah.
I wouldn't exactly say it's smothering, like asking them to move in, but like when like you haven't discussed that before and it's just kind of like thrown at you, like, hey, move in with me.
And he like gaslights himself into thinking that it's because he's like, why should we be together, like be apart when we could be together? But it's literally just him sensing that something, he's sensing a disturbance in the force, and he's like,
so he smothers as his love
so he
language.
smothers, and he like
clings.
He holds on so tightly because he's terrified of being left.
Moving forward, it says, when you're struggling, your self-esteem is tied to what others think. You might be a people pleaser. Do things out of guilt because you don't like confrontation. You may have codependent relationships. Struggle finding somebody who really gets you. You feel like you're not good enough, essentially.
I feel attacked on
could
his
lack a strong sense of self and be unable to ask for what you want. It's just so Buck.
Yeah. I know we've read it before, but like a while ago.
Yeah.
This is our reading, like just general, how I think all of us see Buck.
Yeah, it definitely is. Also says, when you're struggling, it feels like you're irrationally prevented from finding someone who really gets you. Instead of the traditional relationship, you attract complex or extreme situations. Your partners may either be unkind or emotionally unavailable. You could be prone to codependency.
Calling him out again on codependency.
Oh my God. Then here, your desire to merge with a partner may cause you to become lost in other people. At times, you may be a people pleaser or find that you have a hard time saying no.
What have we said about getting lost in other people by...
Yep.
Buck's not holding a mirror up for himself. He's holding it up for someone else and trying to be that.
You may have been with partners who can be insensitive, lacking empathy and interest in your own needs.
Abby.
They might even be ruthless and dominate you through intimidation.
It's all of them except for Allie.
Yeah, exactly.
Who only gets a pass because she wasn't there.
Yeah.
And left when she realized it wasn't going anywhere.
You immerse yourself in work. More than most people, you won't be truly happy if you're doing something for status or to please others. Your job should feel good in your body and engage your senses.
This app is scary.
What could engage his senses more than being a firefighter and having to like rely on his physical strength, but also like his intellectual acuity. And like seeing, hearing, being like super aware of his surroundings.
This is also funny. You may feel like you have no control over your own security. Like there's no safe space or home for you. Growing up, you may have experienced an overwhelming event. Simply something that felt bad. Today, you may rebel against the conventional ideas of home. For you, it probably isn't one specific place. It's wherever you feel free. Like, how is this so on the nose? It literally blows my mind.
I know we've read this before.
I know. It's still blowing my mind.
I haven't revisited it since, and this was in November.
Yes.
Yeah. Like
so like, ago. I mean, and having just like talked about all of this at length, it's kind of scary. Like this is, I don't think we're doing confirmation bias hindsight 2020 here. It's just, it is what we said.
Well, it's what we said. It's the reading, like the literal readings of the astrology, but then like our like
interpretation of
character
the character
analysis and
the thing that blows my mind is that I don't think these things are applicable to Eddie. So it's not like
it's that general that it could be like
it's not copy.
It could be anybody.
Exactly. Right. It's specific. And also I feel like there's also the aspect of Buck just being not a real person. Like, how is this so accurate? Like, after I read this, I was like, are we sure that Buck isn't a real person? Because I'm getting scared right now.
Yeah. If we ever come across someone in real life who is a Libra sun, Cancer moon, Leo rising, we're going to know all about them.
Yeah, for real.
Oh my God.
It says here, something's been holding you back. You'll be forced to face it right now. If you've been unable to come to terms with who you truly are, this could be a great moment of uncertainty. It's also a time of expansion in your relationships. You could meet someone new, move in together. Okay. However, if you struggled with intimacy, that too will need to be addressed right now. In any case, you'll confront whatever issues are holding you back from discovering happiness. Like what?
That is scary. Like something's been holding you back.
Because the other stuff was like, oh, this is what's been happening with you. And then this is like, what's going on with you right now. And that is literally what is going on with him right now.
Again, fictional.
With Pattern, the app, it's like kind of surrounding the current time period. So it's like this thing is transiting for this amount of time sort of thing,
exactly.
Right? So like it's wild too that this is happening at the time of like the episodes and the arc that we're seeing.
Yeah.
Because this is like more of an extended period of time. It's like a couple months or year or something at a time. Mm-hmm. So like it holds true for like what we'll get into in the in 8B.
Also the next one. It could seem like your romantic life is taking off. You're being awakened, both within yourself and to people you're attracted to. Like what? What?
Not the awakening, not the sexual awakening.
Oh my god.
In the horoscopes, like.
And the last one is like your relationship shifts happening right now. And it says
the pattern said you're gay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It says you could meet someone in an unconventional way, go through a breakup. Maybe a loved one's behavior changes. Like, I just don't know. There's just so much happening here.
Does Tim Minear run the pattern?
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised. He's like, no. What do I write next? Like, and then he just plugs it into
the pattern. Scare the shit out of these chicks.
No, I think that could be something that he's doing. It's like, yes, this says they will be experiencing like relationship issues. So we're going to do this.
That actually is funny because I was like, is he literally running the pattern, the app? And saw that we were trying to do this. It was like, but I like your way too.
I think he's using it as a writing tool.
Could be. I mean, he's using
so too.
The actors' lives, so this would be less crazy.
If I was Tim Minear, I would use it.
Right?
That would involve him coming up with birthdays.
That's true.
You know what? He may have an idea and just doesn't tell anybody because he keeps that secret. So nobody else knows his secret, which is looking at the pattern.
We've cracked
it. We're going to start thinking that we're insiders, but no, we're just using the pattern.
Okay.
On the same wavelength.
Here's Eddie's. This is where it starts getting crazy. I know it's already crazy, but it's going to get crazy.
Because it's Eddie?
Yeah, because it's Eddie.
When he's struggling, he can be reckless and not know his limits. He could come across as rebellious, angry. He could totally shut down. To others, he may appear passive or stoic, but inside his frustration is raging. He may stifle his natural intensity and become depressed, or may lead a secret life.
No! Are you kidding me?
Life. It says that, word for word.
The pattern horoscope said vertigo arc?
Yeah, it said that. Like, why does it say that?
Okay, Tim Minear uses this app.
I'm convinced. Okay, here's where it gets even crazier. It hasn't been easy for Eddie. As a child, he may have felt pressure to prove himself. No matter how much he achieved, it didn't seem like enough. As an adult, he may feel blocked from reaching his full potential. Eddie's self-critical and can feel judged by other people. Though he's more driven than most, it's important that he's working hard for something he enjoys. The stuff about childhood is what gets me. Like, how do you know that?
And
he's a fictional character.
How do you know that? This is utilizing the entire chart compilation.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, including the birth time. And
at times, Eddie may feel isolated. Like there's something different about him.
Gay.
You're gay.
He may have had one or more wounding experiences, Shannon. Like loss or betrayal, Shannon.
Getting shot. You said wounding experiences. Sorry, I'm late to the joke. Yeah. Continue.
In response, he may try to push his feelings away or feel angry because life seems so unfair. Fight arc. Eddie might be tempted to see himself as a victim, but that's not the truth. His struggles may be the source of his greatest strength, even a gift. He possesses... No, this process ultimately helps him find compassion for himself. Man.
That's giving the confrontation between him and Kim.
Yeah.
Cosplaying as Shannon.
Mm-hmm. Like therapy almost.
Mm-hmm. That was roleplay exposure therapy.
Oh my God.
Despite his wish to nurture others, he might not end up in a traditional caretaking role, or he could be forced to give it up.
No.
Eddie might dedicate his caretaking to unusual people or circumstances. What? Why did it say that?
What? That's so weirdly specific.
How do you even know that he has a child is my question.
Who requires specific, like...
Unusual circumstances. Giving up his caretaking roles. This is like him with his parents. And also like...
because he did willingly give it up.
Yeah.
Yes. And also like,
I mean, like
the unusual situations could also mean like Buck. Like this is not not a usual situation for having like a co-parent.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the next one. Eddie may repress how different and weird he feels inside. Life may feel out of control because his circumstances seem to change all the time.
Stop. It really is saying you're gay.
Yeah.
Just over and over. It's like literally the universe is screaming and you refuse to listen. So how many times can we scream you're gay?
Uh-huh.
It says here, it could seem like he's constantly dealing with disruptive situations. His reaction to these circumstances can be upsetting. Eddie insists on nurturing in a typical way. He may experience abrupt and even extreme changes to this, which shatter his expectations. This is literally just Kim and then the fallout.
Yeah. I don't... It's hard to like extrapolate on this because it's so like pinpointing.
Exactly.
It's just like beat
everything.
for beat.
Beat for beat every single thing that has happened.
And it's not just this season. It's their entire character arcs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's bizarre.
In Eddie's long-term relationships, what works best for him is a partner who can be there for him emotionally. Ideally, his partners are nurturing, compassionate, and supportive of their life together.
You don't say.
They're really there for him, which is important. He's learning that he wants to commit and build something lasting. They should both be in agreement about this objective, whether it's a home, a family, or a project. I feel like that's just so Buck and him.
Yeah.
It's what they both want. Yeah.
On the same page. Commit something lasting and being in agreement about it.
Eddie's excellent social skills means he's a natural networker. He can talk to anyone. Like a peacemaker or diplomat, he can reach out to people and understand their perspectives. This makes him a valuable ally. He's meant to find a workplace that's collaborative, allows equal give and take. At work, he should feel like everyone's on his team. This is this whole like thing when he was talking about why he chose firefighting. He was like, it's the camaraderie.
Yeah.
That was the main pinpoint for him. He was like, this in the army, it's all about having a team.
And even like playing peacemaker, like in the first episode when, Buck has his irrational problems with Eddie, and Eddie doesn't actually do anything about it until Buck takes it out on Chimney, and then that's when Eddie steps in and is like, hey, like mediating, kind of mediating, but in like a slightly combative way. Yeah. But in essence, he's like mediating for Chimney's behalf.
For sure.
And it's just like a workplace that's collaborative, equal give and take.
Okay, here's where it gets even crazier.
But wait, there's more.
If Eddie has doubts, wounds, or blocks concerning his sense of security, they'll intensify right now. He may experience a difficult situation around his home life or how he feels secure within himself. Though it can be painful, this process shows him what's missing or what isn't working, allowing him to heal long-standing wounds and issues.
You're gay.
Like, how do they know that's what he's currently going through?
Continues to give, you're gay.
Yeah, like how he feels secure within himself. He has to find, what did we talk about with the authenticity? He has to find his individuality, who he is outside of father, firefighter, soldier, son, all of these things. And that it can be deep, like a painful process, but like that would be what he is missing.
Also, okay, this is also related to what you just said. It says, right now, Eddie may feel like his power is being undermined. Normally, nothing stands in his way of doing what he wants, but right now, he may face an overwhelming situation that tests his control. He's being made to surrender the way he instinctively navigates life.
His parents?
Yes, exactly.
Oh.
And then we have like the stuff that Pattern gave us about Buck and Eddie both, because that was just them individually.
This is the buddy.
Yeah, this is the buddy of it all. It says, it feels like Buck and Eddie were fated to meet. There's a strong pull to connect that could feel energizing. There may be a sense that knowing each other will change your perspective on relationships in deep and lasting ways. Buck is someone Eddie can take seriously. There's a gravity to your connection. It could feel like you're just the maturing influence he needs. If Eddie is struggling, it could be because he feels like he can't follow his desires around Buck. Okay. Okay.
It took me
This is starting to sound hate crimey now.
He might not feel like he's able to exert his power or will around you. It's like he's unable to get what he wants and enjoy what usually thrills him. In response, Eddie might shut down or repress himself.
Why?
Get the fuck out of here.
Pattern app needs to go to jail.
Yeah.
We're going to have to post these receipts. No one's going to believe us.
I know.
Or he could try to prove himself to you by overindulging or being reckless. It literally says you are either going to repress yourself or you're going to be reckless. It says literally the words repress and reckless.
What the fuck?
Like what?
Cool.
There's a pattern between both of you that's activating both of your life's purposes. You may literally alter each other's path. One or both of you may figure out on your own what changes need to be made. Along the way, your connection may take surprising turns. Could be unnerving if one or both of you is used to controlling things. May also bring excitement. Let go of the outcome of what's happening and trust the changes and opportunities that come.
That's giving one of them has the realization first.
Yeah, for sure.
Feelings realization, it be confirmed by that.
And it doesn't say which one, which is interesting. Would also kind of be interesting if it's around the same time, but individually, so like they can't communicate about it. And the one time that this whole season, half season so far has been about their lack of communicating.
Ooh, this is interesting. Eddie brings healing to Buck's life. If Buck is relying too much on being a certain way or falling back on old habits, Eddie helps shut down these instincts. He accelerates Buck's growth and maturity.
Are you kidding me?
Literally?
Yeah.
That's so on the nose.
I'm sorry. It's the Buck like falling back on old habits thing. That's crazy to me about, you know, everything that Tim has said in the interviews following the mid-season finale, where it's like, yeah, Buck's gonna be spiraling. You know, let's see how long these relationships, which I'm still convinced he did not necessarily mean to drop specifically.
Yeah, I agree.
I think he
accidentally said that.
He didn't mean to say that. So Buck spiraling, Buck going back to like trying to find, you know, the puzzle piece in his romantic relationships when it's right under his nose the whole time. I think that's the thing that gets me. Like, it's so specific to Buck.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing, like, going to be coming up, like, when we return.
It says here, you're both a source of optimism and support. May feel like a blessing in each other's lives. Eddie brings out Buck's caretaking and sensitive side. Buck may have the impulse to be more nurturing around him, or even take on a caretaker role in the relationship. Buck should just remember to take care of himself as well. Avoid codependency. Not happening.
Too late. Too late.
No, they like it though. It's
fun. They like it because they're both equally codependent on the other.
I also love that the section ends off with, you're on each other's side and you both feel it.
You can have my back, oh, you can have mine.
Exactly. I just want to add that this entire section of them, how they relate to each other, it ended on saying this: nothing is impossible and nothing is right and wrong. At this moment, Eddie is going through a cycle that is meant to transform the person that he is. What he needs and what he wants may be different day to day.
One day he needs to move to Texas.
The next day
he needs to move back and profess his gay love.
This is great.
I just find it interesting that it says Eddie is going through the transformation, not Buck. It says Eddie specifically is going through the transformation.
Yeah.
How do they know?
How do they know is my question.
How do they know?
It's so specific.
So my question then, not to toot our own horn or pat all of us on the back. I guess, did we nail it?
Yeah, I think they nailed it.
Because I don't know how it could have gotten more specific about not only where, like, if Buck and Eddie were real people, right? and we plugged them into this astrology app. I don't know how it could have gotten more accurate to where they are now in season 8, but also the past leading up to that as well.
Yeah.
And the part of where we know it's going.
Yes.
And what they've been foreshadowing of where it's going. It's like I couldn't have really gotten more specific unless they gave us like timestamps of the future episodes.
I know. It's like, can we ask pattern? like the time around, you know, March through May.
So crazy.
We can always refresh the app though. Yeah. Because Chrissy was saying that it refreshes like
every couple months. Yeah.
Every couple months. So it might, I'm sure it probably will before.
When like the season finishes, I'm going to check it again. And I want to see the change in how, like what they're saying, what's currently happening with Buck and Eddie. I want to see like how that changes, because it's going to change for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we'll have to do like a little
update,
mini update follow up.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just so, I don't know.
It's so interesting. I just feel like so validated in our opinions, for sure.
I mean, I didn't need this to know we were correct, but like no one can tell me I'm wrong now.
Yeah,
It helps.
I was already confident, but that just made me feel like on top of the world confident.
Yeah, because it's a completely separate, like, third party situation that doesn't have anything to do with like our
they have no idea about how we perceive them or even like who they are. Like, I just put Buck and Eddie into the pattern. Like, they don't know their last name, they don't know who they are, they don't know their circumstances, how they act.
Just gave those birth dates.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Just crazy.
Good job, us.
I fear that all the other astrology episodes are not going to be as exciting as this one.
No. I mean, this was we came out of the gate
swinging. Yep.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because this is also the most
debated on.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think this is the one where people have the most opinions, most passionate opinions on.
Well, that's okay. They don't have to opinions anymore. We have facts.
Yeah.
We presented them to you.
We
You are welcome.
presented all the facts. What is there to say?
We have literally connected all the dots. We have connected all the shit.
Yeah. All the constellations.
You're welcome. Oh yeah, all the stars.
And I mean, we didn't even go as in depth as we could have gone. Because we could have gone into
because there's other things.
Mercury, Mars, Venus signs, those all.
Maybe that'll be the part 2.
Oh, part 2. There you go.
I was almost going to say I would love to hear other people's opinions, but
no, I wouldn't. Talk to the Gemini about that. Don't bother me.
Honestly, I agree with Rachel, but I'm also an Aquarius.
Oh yeah.
I have Aquarius rising, but I don't suffer from whatever that is.
We live with our head in the clouds.
I would love to hear somebody speak about it just as in depth as we just did and attempt to convince me. Because right now I'm very firm in my opinion, but if you were to present an equal argument, I could understand. But the thing is that I don't believe that there is an equal argument. So
that's my problem is I'm open to having debate, conversation about stuff until I'm
locked in,
sure of my rightness. Once I'm sure of that,
then it's over.
You can't I mean fictional things. I'm not talking about real life. I don't mean that in a toxic
things
way.
That can be interpreted and have no technical right answer.
Yes. No, but once I'm certain of my correct read on something, argue with the law.
Yeah,
for sure.
On my end, I'm just going to say, you can say what you want. You're allowed to. I'll allow it.
You are
I
allowed.
guess. I'm just going to stay right here.
Just know that anyone responding to your other opinions will be Rachel, probably.
Mostly. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's not me.
I guess my challenge then, and I'd probably have to confer with Chrissy on this, is to find something and present an argument as in depth and as
that makes more sense than this.
More sense than this.
Yeah.
That they'll listen to and then tell Syl and I about.
And not just pick and choosing specific aspects.
No. The whole
in
thing.
its entirety, because I feel we could. There's
just
always
them, here's
more
an
that
assignment.
we can.
You're gonna get great.
Hey, you want some homework?
Well, the assignment is if you disagree with us. If you truly think that your thing is more correct, then where's the receipts?
I love other people's headcanons. That is totally fine. I'm actually can anyone find a better argument?
Yeah, I would love to hear it.
Because I hard pressed. This is coming from the Gemini, who was already
That's how you know we're right.
Yeah, it just locked in so perfectly every single thing that I could not as we were going through all of these to determine. I was I can't find another option that would be better.
Yeah, for sure.
Than what we have here, and that's how I know. Oh, I'm dying on this hill.
Because Rachel kept going, what about blah, blah, blah? And then I would read the thing and I'd be like,
no.
Nope.
Nope. Read it to her and she'd be like, yeah, no, you're right. It's this. And then I'd be like, what about
exhaust
this?
all of the options.
Yeah.
And then whatever was not eliminated was what we ended up with. And I was like,
no, I feel like we Gemini proofed this.
Stamp of Gemini approval.
Yeah, because there were things, I think just for Eddie specifically, because Buck was just I can't think of anything that would fit him better. But with Eddie, I think
Buck came easier. Let me rephrase that.
Buck definitely came easier to go to. Okay. I also just got the joke.
Sorry.
It's so hilarious because she never talks like this except when we're recording. It's something flips in her brain.
The Leo moon.
It's the.
Sorry, what were you saying?
Like, I figured Buck's out way easier than Eddie's.
Yeah.
But I also think that's in part because I think that with Buck, the aspects of his personality are much more in your face. Whereas with Eddie, I feel like there's a lot that's repressed. And it's harder to figure him out in that sense. You have to really do the work to understand Eddie.
Yeah.
I also think Buck cannot be as straightforward like we talked about because of the mask of it all.
Yeah, he definitely lied
But
to
he was
himself.
just so obvious to me as a Cancer, as a fellow Buck-coded person.
You had like an extra
it was like he
line
put
on.
it in my head. It was like I had his thought and went, well, yes, of course.
I definitely think I'm more like Eddie, even though, like, I don't think that Eddie and I are similar people in how, like, we, like, all his signs and stuff. That I don't relate to Eddie in that sense, but there's a lot I have in common with Eddie. Like, eldest child, represses emotions. What else is there?
I definitely have things in common with him.
we
The
all
religious
eldest?
trauma being
I'm only
the
child.
largest thing.
Oh yeah.
Also, like, the cultural background, the
There.
religious aspect, etc. Yeah.
Yeah, there are definitely, I mean, I don't fully relate to Buck on everything. Like, thank God. I don't relate to him, like, familial wise.
Yeah.
Like, I'll take the religious drama over that.
Oof. Yeah. That's a little easier to kind of
digest than savior babies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, literally. That part that you read from the pattern where we're talking about an event in his childhood. I was like, what if it's literally just like
being born?
Well, not being born, because the body remembers pain, even if you're not, like, the body remembers and retains trauma, like, even if you aren't conscious to receive it. So I'm like, that could be just like a core trauma memory that he doesn't even consciously remember because he was too little to, but like them getting the marrow transplant.
Well, I think that's probably one of the reasons why he ends up acting out by inflicting pain on himself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because not only does the body remember pain, but he would have just known at that point instinctually that, oh, I feel ouch. Parents pay attention to me.
Exactly.
And that's where that emanates from.
Yeah.
You know, once he got older, he was so young, he wouldn't have been able to comprehend that. But that was so instinctual in who he came to be that is why he ended up hurting himself to get his parents' attention.
And I mean, like, that just manifests in his job all the time too. Like, acting out against orders to get attention when he's slipping away, when something bad is happening.
We don't have to leave this in, but it's topical to what we're talking about. Sleeping around, even though it hurts you because it gets you attention.
Yeah.
But it hurts you because you're demisexual, demi-romantic.
Any combination you decide to headcanon, it's still a form of self-harm.
Yeah, 100%.
And we have talked about this.
100%.
It's not as much physical harm, but it's just taking that and internalizing that harm. So it's more emotional than physical, but it is doing a like physical
it's emotional harm, but it is like in a form physical too, because it's like he's using, like, all he knows is like hurt to get attention, but also the only thing I'm good for is my body. So
yeah, it's funneling that physicality in a different way.
Anyway, so glad that I brought the mood up.
Well, that's a bummer now.
Chrissy, where can people find you? Where do you want them to find you? Do you want them to find you?
Do you want to be found?
Oh my God.
Do you want to be seen and perceived?
Somewhat. You can find me at Kithmet. It's KITHMET. I think I spelled that right.
Yeah, you did.
Yes.
Yeah, you can find me there, Tumblr, Twitter, and AO3.
Yes.
Check out her AO3.
Rate,
fantastic. Like the other ones too, but for sure the AO3.
Rate her face.
I have been sitting here impatiently for months.
Yes, call me out. Oh my gosh. The current idea I have is like a post 808 fic.
Ooh.
And
I'm there.
it's definitely different than anything else you've ever read. It's not like the typical 808 fics is all I'm gonna say.
Okay. Say more, but also say less. It doesn't matter how much you say. I'm sad.
Already sold.
The concept is this. Buck is crashing out over the fact that Eddie is moving. However, he's determined to be a good friend about it. So he's putting on a brave face and he's telling Eddie, yeah, it's all good. And he's like really stepping up and taking initiative and helping Eddie move. Almost to like a disturbingly aggressive, like invasive degree. Like he's
like shooing him out of the state.
Like he's like creating these like spreadsheets to help him like with house listings and decor.
Accurate.
And like,
it's biblically accurate.
And he's just doing too much essentially. Like he's like micromanaging Eddie's move. On top of that, Eddie's like, okay, so you're being kind of crazy, but whatever, sure, we'll go with it. At the same time, there's this thing that starts manifesting in Buck where he starts acting crazy. So essentially what happens is the night that Eddie tells him, he stays over at Eddie's house and then he has a wet dream on his couch. And then he's like, actually, this is normal. It just accidentally happened. It's fine. And he's like, you know how Buck just kind of lies to himself? That's like the whole premise of the fic. He's just lying to himself repeatedly.
So it's the Buck gaslights himself.
Yes, essentially. Basically, the whole fic is just Buck being weird about Eddie's house and also his belongings. Like he starts stealing Eddie's stuff. He's like,
no, he would.
He's like, you don't need this, so I'm just gonna keep it because it's the part of you that you like I won't have anymore, and I'm just I can have this. You don't need this anymore. So he's like, I'm gonna take this. So he just steals a variety of Eddie's things essentially and keeps them in his own house.
I had a headcanon that he just like moves into the house.
That is a great headcanon. One of my friends is writing a fic like that, but so I was like, you do that and I'll just do this insane thing instead.
Just like reverse pebbling.
But yeah, the whole fic is just like
a magpie.
Like essentially Buck has weird sexual experiences in Eddie's house, like, and then also he's stealing Eddie's things and taking them to his house. And
his subconscious is trying to tell him something.
Yeah, it really is, and he's just not listening.
Oh my god.
Nope.
Anyway, my friends describe this fic as Buck's psychosexual stalker moment. And like,
that's exactly what it is.
I and other friends lovingly refer to it as the klepto Buck fic.
I love it.
But
yeah, it's like he's stealing the things from Eddie's house as like his souvenirs.
Yes, essentially. It's like, these are the pieces of you that I can keep. I won't let you see that I'm like actually depressed about this. So I'm like indulging myself by taking your stuff. Honestly, I don't know how my brain came up with any of this.
Oh, I love your brain.
But I'm really excited for this fic.
Oh my gosh.
So that's what I mean by it's not like the typical 808 fic. It's just insane shit. This is Freak for Freak at its peak.
We love Freak for Freak.
Freak for Freak.
Yeah.
There's not enough Freak for Freak.
Yeah.
No, I need them to be unhinged.
Also, like, it lines up so well with 704 and also like what Tim is hinting at is going to happen. Like, obviously, I don't think Buck is going to have some psychosexual crash out in 8B. However,
No, but they made 704 canon,
Exactly.
therefore.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm thinking, okay, he's going to have a 704 level crash out in AB.
Yeah.
Remember, don't take a trip across the stars.
But if you do,
Take
a buddy with
you.
Thank you for listening to the Buddy System podcast from start to finish.
We literally cannot shut up about 911, so please come talk to us on your favorite social media platform.
We are at Buddy System Pod everywhere. That's BUDDIE System Pod. Leave a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts to get a personal shout out in the next episode. The Buddy System is a Nerdvergent media production featuring music from Divinity.
Can't get enough of the buddies? Subscribe to our Patreon for access to exclusive content and our Discord community.
Catch you next time, and don't forget,
Bring a buddy with you.